What's up, everybody? We're here on Inside the Circle. Myself, Jordan Campbell, your host, with the man, the myth, the legend, Coach Alicio Cabildo, Wes Beasy, been here since day one. We're just going to talk about how we went from homelessness to dreaming about building Winter Circle to having nothing, to building a company that not only changed our life, but the entire community, right? So many athletes that came through the program, so many different employees that we've had, and it all started really with a dream, with a vision, with friendship. But we're just going to talk about the origin of Winter Circle Athletics and how not only it impacted our lives, but our community and eventually the whole state and then the whole West Coast, right? We became the biggest program and the first ever prep academy on this side of the Mississippi. So put your seatbelt on, get your popcorn ready, and get ready to learn. So the first time I met Weston was pretty much, I'll talk about how I remember or you remember it, but obviously Norco High School, me and him went all the way back to high school football. We were part of our 4 championship team. He was 2 years younger than me. But the first time I really remember Weston was he was a sophomore starting on varsity. He had an interception in the game. Myself, him, and Jared Coster ended up kind of hanging out after the game. And from there became really good friends. And Alicio was my senior year before going to USC, really the first training facility opened in the Inland Empire in 2006 or 2007?
2006 is where we started that up over there in Rancho Cucamonga.
Yeah, so 2006 was Athletic Republic. Alicio, how old were you at the time?
Whew. I'm 42 now, so I can't even do the math, but probably early 20s, probably 23.
I just remember you being a young
23,
guy.
22, 23 years old, fresh out of college, trying to figure out what path I was going to take, and got into sports training, performance training, biomechanics, and exercise science. So it kind of like pivoted into a career in athletic performance.
And there was none of that. Growing up, it was you did PE, you did your PE football program. So when we started hearing about like training facilities open up, it was like, oh my gosh, there's a new place.
Yeah, something new, up. Right? Yeah.
So that takes us way back. And then Weston, again, went to high school with him. And what would you say was your first memory of just meeting me?
Well, so I came in, I was new to the community, the Norco community. It's so deep and the roots are so far down. It's so deep. I'm moving in from Orange County, went to a school down the road, Auburndale. All my friends from there were going to Centen.
Yeah.
And so I actually stayed connected with a lot of those guys throughout the years. But, I'm upset. My mom and dad wanted to send me to Norco. Supposedly better over there, blah, blah, blah at the time. I had no idea what I was walking into. And so when I get there, and, I joined the football team.
When did you get
my
there,
classmates?
Sophomore year?
Freshman year.
So right in.
And so that's when I met your dad.
Yeah.
And so that's my first memory of you, is actually being at the freshman field, doing practice with your dad, being told to put my purse down. And then obviously, varsity practice hasn't started yet. So you're walking around this and that. But then obviously, like you said, I mean, that's kind of just the hearsay kind of around campus. Yeah. But like how you were talking about getting pulled up as a sophomore, and at the time, like, you had a lot of underclassmen that play now. At that time, underclassmen didn't play.
Most definitely.
If you were underclassmen and you were playing, your team sucked. So it was kind of a big deal, especially when you get a red jersey for defense at Norco at that time. Was a big deal. You only have 11 guys that get red jerseys.
Yeah.
Everyone else has a white. The first starting 11 offense get blues. So I think it was like by game 3, I had earned a starting spot. I was like 140 pounds, maybe, with overalls and boots on, soaking wet, tiny. But I could move really well. So I think that's why I was able to earn a spot. And then I remember playing against Bloomington, and they had a guy that was going to SC. I believe the last name was Goins or whatever it was. And they ran that wing tee. They're just pulling all night long. So I'm just getting my ass kicked. And then they ran, I think, just like a tight end pop pass, picked it. And then, that was kind of, it was history really from there. Kind of earned some respect, not just from you, but from everyone really on the squad at that time. And then that's kind of, I think, when a relationship actually kind of started.
Most definitely. And in order to tell the story of Winter Circle, it's really telling kind of the background story of kind of how everything worked out, right? as I finished up high school, getting ready to train with the Liso before I went to USC, did my 3 years at USC, and ended up transferring, right? Ended up transferring to Louisville during the Pete Carroll era, and then ended up coming back home from Louisville in 2010. And in 2010, I came back home with no football, not understanding what school I was going to go to, not a pot to piss in, right? Came back home. My sisters took over my room. I was sleeping on the couch, and I was really trying to figure out life. And that was 3 years after I graduated high school. And I remember I didn't have a car at the time, and I was I was actually riding a bike to LA Fitness and back. And that's really when our relationship, I would say for Weston at least, I again worked out with the Liso before going to USC, but really knew Weston in high school. But really when our relationship really took off was about 2010. I was in the worst situation of my life, right? You go from achieving so much in high school, going to USC, playing at the biggest school, playing in front of 100,000 people, living in downtown LA, literally living that rock star lifestyle. And through my failures, my transfers, all different things, Pete Carroll going to NFL, I ended up back at home trying to figure out life, and ended up running into Weston at LA Fitness, right? And the local LA Fitness used to be a spot where everybody would go and train. We did it in high school. And that's just our local gym that we had. So kind of run into Weston at that time. I'm not sure if you were roofing at that time. You weren't working. I remember
I was coming fresh off of the job site when I ran into you that day.
Yeah, I remember that. And you're
full sunburnt, nice farmer's tan, cooked up.
Straight up.
First, I don't even remember, but at that time I was just kind of like going through life. Out of high school, I had a couple offers, but I was just a knucklehead in the classroom. So you get pulled out by a coach, go to the coach's office, the normal get down when you're about to receive a scholarship for guys that go through that.
Did you take your SAT or anything, or you just didn't even know, right?
Nah, I didn't really have. I took the ACT, didn't really have any guidance. I thought I could just kind of cheat my way through it and get there. I mean, I was in all honors class. I entered in the GATE program in the elementary school, but I mean, you know how it is. As you get older, you got to do the work. If you don't do the work and you don't put the commitment and the time in, and you're not disciplined with your classes and this and that, it doesn't matter how smart you are. Mm-hmm. So although I, considered smart, but it doesn't matter if you're not doing the work. Because of that, it was like, the mentality back then was D1 or bust. So I was like, screw it. I'm just going to go work and do this. So I was roofing at the time.
Yeah.
And so I remember coming off the job site, and one thing I knew I was never going to stop doing was training. So of course, 7 p.m., got off of work, sat in traffic for 2 hours, get to the house, shoot over to the gym. And I think you were like weighing yourself. And I walk up and I'm like,
what the hell are you doing
here,
bro? Yeah, I know.
What the hell are you doing here? So that's how I remember that happening. And then it was like, I'm back, I'm training. It's like, all right, cool, I'll pick you up tomorrow. Because like you said, you didn't have a car at the time. Yeah. So I think from there, every day after work, I would pick you up. And then that's how it kind of snowballed into the next chapter, which was, hey, I'm looking for my next school. And by the way, I shot the coach your film and they want you to come out.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like dumbfounded, like, oh. And so just like that, back in school, back in college, coaches calling me, which was the last thing I ever expected to happen.
Sure.
Which was obviously really cool. And I remember as soon as I got that phone call, I got on the other phone. Sorry, bro, I ain't coming to work tomorrow. I'm going back to school.
Yeah.
I'm going back to school. Hey, Mom, guess what? I'm going back to school.
And the Winner Circle story is really a story of the underdog achieving, right? And triumph and downfalls and pitfalls and adversity, and always continue to work through any type of situation and really never give up, and all the catchy slogans you hear. So just from my point of view, go from being at the best program in the country to coming home and having to literally ride a 10-speed bike down River Road to First Street to LA Fitness, which was my biggest fear, right? But then being able to run into Weston in two different lives, right? I was here at the highest place, and he was just roofing, right? And we ended up, worst part, we're both in our life, right? And sometimes all you need is somebody else to be able to dream with you and create a vision with you, and to be able to be an outlier. And Weston was that guy for me. And we were both crazy enough and believed in ourselves enough that we knew we didn't belong at LA Fitness. We knew we didn't belong roofing. We knew we didn't belong doing what we were doing at that point in our life. And decisions will put you on some path, whether it's greatness or whether it's failure. but everything always happens for a reason, right? God put us in that situation in 2010 because that same year I met my girlfriend, which is now my wife, right? So I was at the lowest point in my life, really, when I became and was able to get my closest friendships, right? And going back to 2010, we're at LA Fitness, and then on Instagram, we seen Alicio. I knew him, but I really didn't know him. Like I knew him, but right, the relationship of family wasn't really there yet, right? So you always see him training and running hills and doing overspeed treadmills. And during that era, people have to understand it was still bigger, stronger, faster, but a lot of it was strength training. That was our background, right? He was one of the very few people who was doing footwork training and speed and agility.
There wasn't anybody doing that.
Nobody.
It wasn't a thing.
Yeah,
you know, for like when Velocity was here in Corona, people weren't even doing Velocity, and it was a huge, amazing, beautiful building.
Yeah,
people were
they didn't
just
understand. It was too ahead of their time, right?
It was it was before like the kind of evolution, and the evolution really started
human
at that time.
performance and speed and agility.
You know,
right?
you only did at a really high level, like the pros.
Yeah, college. Once you get to that level in the pros, you understood it. But that whole umbrella of movement pattern training, this whole methodology we created, really started in that 2000, a little bit, probably 2012, 13 time. But going back to Licio, he came into the picture around that 2010 time also, where we were doing our lifting, but then we needed to go start running and training and doing things like that. And I ended up reaching out to every Division II school in the country, just trying to find a college to be able to go to, and really trying to figure it out myself, right? There's no one really else there who could help me. No one understood the process I was going through, transferring from USC to Louisville, then trying to go to a D2 school, right? There's 444 transfers. Ended up finding the worst Division II school in the country, right? When I say that, I'm not throwing shit on New Mexico Highlands. New Mexico Highlands changed my entire life, right? And it was the perspective we had going in there. And what I mean by that is they were literally ranked 142 out of 142 in a town of 5,000 people. And the only closest Division II schools were Humboldt State in Northern California, going all the way down to
APU.
They're in AIA, right? That when Santa Cruz was there, because I tried to go to APU with Santa Cruz, but it was in AI school, or whatever you want to call it. So it was really Humboldt State, or it was New Mexico Highlands.
Yeah.
And ended up getting in contact with New Mexico Highlands. And I ended up walking on to the school, right? I wasn't a scholarship guy. There was no such thing as really full scholarship guys at the D2 level.
It wasn't. It's all like what grants and student
it's
loans.
all grants and student loans. Yeah. So the whole time while we're training in 2010, I needed film, right? And Lane Kiffin wouldn't give me my film when I left USC because obviously he was pissed when I left. So we started doing these training videos, right? And back in 2010, we were really the original content creators on YouTube, and we were ahead of our time for YouTube, where we have videos that were 700,000 views, which in today's time would have been 19 million views. We had 7,000 people subscribed on YouTube, or 7,000 people subscribed back in the day on YouTube to watching these training videos, which would have been 1 million today, right? And these videos were going around the world and they're going viral. I'm talking about Australia, China, Europe, Canada.
The whole world.
Everyone was talking about these videos, where even the guys in the NFL, when they came home, Bobby Wagner, Vontaze Burfict, Ronald Powell, Will Smith, guys that were around the league came home to train with us because how impactful these YouTube videos were. And we ended up doing a clothing brand out of it. My brother started a company called Circle of Success, right? COS. When we were at USC, and he had YG wearing it, and Tyga and Cali Clowns, all the guys from kind of our era who grew up in my age were really rocking COS. And then my brother put out a shirt that was called Welcome to the Winner Circle, right? That's where the name Winner Circle really originated back in 2009. And then when we came back home and started training, we created the We Eatin' shirt. Right? Just simple we eating. And that was literally the mindset. And we shot our first video on, I think, iPhone camera.
An iPhone
10 minutes.
Like 4.
Yeah, it was like an iPhone 4, bro.
5.
Literally an iPhone, and we're putting it together on a computer. And it was a 10-minute video. Now looking back at it, no one does 10-minute videos, but it was like from Norco High School to training with Alicio Athletic Republic to training at Academy of Speed to going to Adrenaline. This long 10-minute video of just insane stuff that really the world didn't see at that time. Now it's common to see it. So we used that film, or at least I did, to send to college coaches like, hey, yes, I'm out of sight, out of mind. I'm not at SC anymore, but I'm still in great shape. I'm still working my butt off. I could still be that guy. And then we tagged the We Eatin' shirt to that, which we ended up selling hundreds and thousands of these shirts from Circle of Success, We Eatin', Winter Circle Athletics, and that kind of funded our opportunity to be able to go to New Mexico Highlands. And whether it was paying for the dorm fees or paying for food or just even having money to live, right? I remember in a garage with Weston and my brother, and we bought a print and press machine, and we were literally in there printing t-shirts, put the paint on, the screen print. What are those things called?
It's just a screen print.
Yeah, screen print machine. We got the shirts done. We get an order from Arkansas or Canada or Australia. We would package it up, take it down to the thing. We would send it out. We'd go and do a new logo shirt, the Born to Win, which is obviously a logo here. We go to the Corona Swap Meet back in the day. We would do a photo shoot at the Corona Swap Meet, right? We'd do a photo shoot at the Corona Swap Meet. We'd do training video and then put a Ray Lewis voiceover over it. 700,000 views. Now, really taking the training aspect and the culture and turning it into a brand, right? And I feel we were so ahead of our time at that time from just a YouTube standpoint, even a training standpoint, because we understood strength conditioning, but we also understood the movement aspect of it, right? And the nutrition, right? We always had a good balance of each thing. Everyone brought something to the table, but what we understood better than anybody was the marketing, right? And that started with Wes, went to school at New Mexico Highlands with me, and ended up doing the media department and things like that. And we were really able to brand ourselves, brand the marketing, brand Winter Circle before we even had a training facility and before we even really started it, right?
And the funny thing is, it was all happening all at one time.
And we didn't even know what was happening, though. It was just happening.
A 6-month period, or after you were like, okay, I'm going to go to this New Mexico school. Wes, I gave him your film. Cool. I quit my job.
Yeah.
Hey, Mom, we're going to New Mexico.
Tell them, though, that the coach literally showed to LA Fitness to recruit us.
He did. And we had about 10 dudes.
10 to 12 guys.
10 guys that were good ball players from Norco High School.
Howell's year, wasn't it?
Didn't get an opportunity. Yeah. And then at the same time, we were launching a bunch of new styles. And I remember we would just spit out a bunch of new styles that weren't on the website yet. Your brother would make our sizes, you and I, and we would
tags on them.
Community wearing it. And then everyone, that's kind of how the buzz really started. So it was like
pool parties, events. Yeah.
The pool parties that were out of hand.
Yeah. Lit.
Completely out of hand. And we were like really grassroots with it because we were always in the community. We were at all the local gyms. You know, when UFC gym first opened, LA Fitness, of course, the local like smaller box gyms. There was like the Strong
Social media was just starting, right?
Social media all over that stuff. You know, and that was all during that time period when we were getting ready, and we were in like insane shape.
And we thought we were so big in 2010, and then Facebook reminds me when the picture pops up, it's like 11 likes. It's like, dang, back then it's like, oh, we got 11 likes, we're good. And then now it's just like looking like, oh my gosh, like we were just so young and energetic and had so much passion, and it was literally, we didn't know what we were doing, but we knew we had something. We felt the momentum, right? And that was, again, 2010. And then, again, getting with Alicio, we go to New Mexico Highlands from 2011 now, because we were now spring 2011. We end up going, and you end up getting in the car with DJ Wood and driving all the way out there. We get there in summertime, not really knowing what we're expecting at New Mexico Highlands, right? And this, like, hills have eyes type of town, right? Like very small, like they built a Taco Bell, I think, and like in a Walmart, and that's where people would really go hang out.
It was the most exciting part about the town was Walmart.
Yeah, people were actually out and they were there, right? But what that did for us, at least for me, because growing up at SC for those 3 years, I was at courtside Laker games, Game 7 versus Magic, Snoop Dogg concerts, throwing parties, right? All that stuff I was doing, I wasn't focused on football, right? And I wasn't focused on business. It was the lifestyle of LA was so fast, and the culture,
overwhelming.
It was so overwhelming. There was our coaches were partying. Our coaches were getting in trouble, getting fired, DUIs, this, that, all this crazy stuff that was going on. SC was really the only pro team in LA at that time, right? And it was just the wild, wild west. And so when I was able to go to New Mexico Highlands and hit rock bottom, the only way when you hit rock bottom, the only way you could go is up, right? And it gave us so much time to really I always say time's against you or time's on your side, right? And to have no pressure, to have no stresses, to only have time, and all we could do is go to class. All we could do is train. All for Wes was doing his media stuff, and we're just trying to figure out how to take the momentum. Because even at that time, even though I got to the NFL, it was like, this is such an uphill battle. There's no way. I put it out there every day that I'm going to the NFL, and I was the best linebacker in the country. And I was tagging Vontaze Burfict in the videos and saying, you ain't shit, right? And I did all these things because I really knew that it was going to be such a hard mountain to climb to really get out of this situation that I put myself in. Deep down inside, I knew it was really a 1% chance to be able to get there. But we were able to focus on other things for the first time outside of just being a football player, at least for me, right? To try to think NFL. And that's really when a lot of creative ideas were able to kind of happen. And we could really look back on that 6 months, because it was really 6 months that set us up for the rest of our life. And it was the 6 months was January 1 to the day we left Norco Corona in that summertime.
August.
Yeah, around July, right? August, right before.
It was, Coach wanted us there at July, but we told him we're going to train. We'll be up there in August.
We'll see. Yeah, we're good, Coach. We got it. So we got there by August, but that 7 months window, when we were in hell starting 2011 January, at least I was just so unhappy. I lost my dream. I'm going to be a laughing stock. You know, you're not at SC anymore. You're not at Louisville. You're going D2. Like, what is Jordan Campbell doing, right? I gave all the critics a reason to laugh, right? And I never want to give people a reason, and I did. But that was the funnest 6 to 7 months of my life, because there really wasn't any stress. There was just going to the gym. There was working out. There was building our brand. There was creativity that was happening. There was freedom. And yeah, it was hard because I was sleeping on the couch either at my grandma's house or at your house, right? And your mom's like, "Is he living here?" Like, what's going
mom
on?
coming in, she's like, I can make him a bed in the room. I was like, I think he likes the couch, so I'm sleeping on the couch.
I got used to sleeping on couch for years, right? I literally slept on a couch from probably 2010 to freaking 2015. But once we were able to go through that kind of span, there was life after football. And there was other opportunities that were out there, you know, and we just had to capitalize on them. So fast forward this whole thing, go through New Mexico Highlands. I'll be another podcast, but I go to the Cincinnati Bengals, right? Draft day happens, don't get drafted. Ray Malaluga calls me, Vontaze Burfict calls me and says, "Hey, you need to come to Cincinnati Bengals. We got a spot for you at linebacker, whatever. And then as soon as I signed with them, like a week later, they signed James Harrison, and then they signed another guy from Penn State, Marbury, who's a first-round draft pick out of there. And my opportunity just closed, right? So I felt like my agent really put me in a bad situation. I went to spring training with them. I was with them for OTAs. And I said, there's no way I'm going to make this football team. And you don't want to admit it, but you could see the writings on the wall, right? If you have James Harrison, a Hall of Famer, you have Vontaze Burfict, you have Ray Malaluga, those guys are getting paid a lot of money. If you know how the salary cap works, how money contracts work, those guys are there to play, right? So when I came back home during summer, I already knew what time it was. Vontaze was training with us and things like that because we're from the same area. I took all of my COS and our Winter Circle gear to the Bengals because we found out we're going to be on HBO Hard Knocks. HBO Hard Knocks is a huge reality TV show online. Actually, I just got tagged in a video today of me arm wrestling James Harrison. And in every episode that they wanted to cover me, if I'm going to get embarrassed on national TV and get fucking cut in front of the world, I'm at least going to build my brand and build my website and the views and have people start looking at the YouTube page. So every day in any interview, I would never wear Cincinnati Bengals stuff. I'd wear Winter Circle stuff. I'd wear COS shirts, jackets, sweaters, hoodies, whatever I possibly could. And the day came, I got cut, right? We're playing the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. Got cut. The next day, I know I'm on a plane, and I call Weston, and he picks me up in the 550 BMW, and we immediately shoot a video that day. Like, we didn't waste any time to be sad, to be upset, to whatever. What was the next move? So literally, if you go on YouTube, the video is I'm walking out of the Ontario airport. We have a Winter Circle bag. We're all Winter Circle geared up. We show the clips from HBO Hard Knocks to us coming back home. And the first thing we do is go to the gym, right? first thing I did was go to the gym. I start working out. We shoot a video. And at that time, there's a lot of stuff going on at home, but my parents didn't really want to kind of distract me while I was in the NFL. My grandpa died while I was with the Kansas City Chiefs, or when I was with the Cincinnati Bengals. He got in a car accident, died, and my parents were going through a divorce. So when I came home, first thing I did was work out. Then I got the news that, where's my grandpa at? He died, and they didn't tell me. And I get no hard feelings. Like, I get it. They didn't want to distract me. That's true love, right? And also they were going through a divorce. So I kind of went home and found that out. And the house I went back to wasn't the house that I left out of high school or college, right? There wasn't much hope there. Wasn't much love. It was very dark. Grandma lost her husband. Mom and dad were splitting up. My sister was probably 8 years old and 11 years old. And first thing I did was get out of Corona, right? And at SC, I started a brand with my buddy T. Egan, who was called First Round. So he was living in a $20 million beach house on Oceanfront Walk in Marina Del Rey. 3 stories, had elevators in it. It was everybody from USC, from our fraternity. So at USC, I joined all Jewish fraternity, Phi Kappa Psi. And I knew that there's life after football. So I was able to network with really the 1% of people at USC during that time. So as soon as I got cut from the NFL, I didn't know if I was going to go back, right? You're waiting there and your agent's going to call you and, hey, we're going to find a team for you, this, whatever. But I just didn't have a place to go back to and be comfortable, right? I got tired of sleep on the couch. So I go work for First Round. I'm living in this $20 million beach house. I'm training at Exos, which is the top facility in the country at the time. And during that time, we're mingling with people who are constantly having ideas on starting businesses, right? So I was able to really kind of slow things down and listen to these conversations, learn business plans, and kind of connect the dots. But I'll slow stuff down. During that time, 2013, did you leave New Mexico Highlands, or were you still there, or did you come back once we started Winter Circle?
It was after, so first year there, obviously I tore my Achilles tendon. That took me to the darkest place in my life.
For sure.
Toughest time ever. Not going to go down that road. But
there was a bear on campus. It was snowing. You're crushing around.
Almost got eaten by a bear. Anyway, so what had happened, I made a full recovery, the whole 9. Again, that's a whole different story. But I ended up hurting my shoulder again.
Yeah,
well, not again, but I hurt my shoulder that year. And at that time, I was just like, man, like, I already just went through this. Like, this is not something that I can sustain.
Yeah.
And be able to walk.
And NFL wasn't an option. It was just getting free education, and
it was making that stuff happen.
Not roofing.
And just having the experience. But at that time, it's like, okay, this is no longer, the juice is no longer worth the squeeze.
Yeah, we need to start making money.
I need to go kind of, take a different route. And that's when I had come home. And the funniest part about it is, no matter how many jobs I applied for, nobody would hire me.
Yeah.
On paper, I was the most unemployable person on earth. And I was
too. Shit.
And that's what ended up happening was, and this was like a really embarrassing time for me, because no matter how many jobs I tried to get, and this is all right in the all in the middle of, well, that was good. That was during school. But this is when you were trying to, get workouts and going to different, I think you're at Buffalo one time. So at that time, no one would hire me.
Me either.
And my little sister had to get me a job.
Yeah, I remember that at
my little sister had to put the good word in for Big Bro to get me a job. That's how unemployable I was on paper. Absolutely nobody would hire me. The least employable on paper.
Yeah.
And so the whole restaurant thing started. That's how I learned to be great with customer service. And first it was the kebab hut. Then she moved on to, but at that time, that was when we started looking for buildings. So I remember getting phone calls from you. Hey, I need you to go check out this building right here off of Hamner.
Yeah.
It's pouring rain. I'm driving my car. All the windows are broken. The windows wouldn't roll up. So it's pouring rain on me. I'm driving.
We're talking about the grind. We were at
2:00 in the morning, getting rained on, driving by buildings, seeing hey, what does it look like? I'm like, oh, it looks good. Yeah. Obviously at the time,
how old were you at the time? 22, right? 22. You had to be 22 in 2013,
23,
right?
23, yeah.
23, right?
23.
So that's where you were at in your life, and we're not talking much with Alicia right now because it's all going to come into
coming
play
in
here
soon.
soon.
It's coming in
So this
hot.
is kind of like the why,
the precursor.
the when did you guys meet, right? So obviously meeting with Weston in high school, met both of them in high school, but we all went on our different paths from college to working the world to, at that time, he was one of the best trainers in the Inland
It was
Empire.
Athletic Republic at the time, and I was also coaching. That's actually the first time I met
there you
Jordan.
go.
I was coaching.
go ahead, this story.
I was coaching at Los Osos High School. I was a defensive back coach over there, and it was a newer school. We had a lot of younger guys.
Bechtel was the head coach at that
Coach
time?
Bechtel was our OC.
You were in his wedding, or he was in yours?
He came to my wedding. Yeah. So I've known Bechtel for a while now, but we had week 1 circled on our calendar. Big Bad Norco's coming in to this brand new school, rich kids in Rancho Cucamonga.
Yeah.
So we're gonna show them something, right? I printed out every player profile. Circle Jordan Campbell, Big Bad SC boy. He's gonna come and take our soul away.
I didn't let him down.
So it's about almost 7 o'clock. Kickoff's about to go. We're sitting in our classroom before we walk out to the field, and like we warmed up, and I was like, I don't see this Jordan Campbell guy anywhere. He's not even here yet.
Not even there.
So I see him pull up. I think it was like a red Civic.
It was our
right?
trainer.
It was a red Civic. Pulls up.
My head coach. So at Norco, there was always a thing where you had to. It's part of like their history back in the day.
In the pool.
You'd have to jump in the pool before the game, swim from one end to the other end, and then get out. And I didn't want to do it. I had this long hair, right? And it's like, bro, I don't want to jump in this pissy ass chlorine pool and do this, right? So my head coach Todd Gearhart. At Norco, it's a weird town and a weird people where they do a lot of weird stuff, but I didn't want to do it. It's like, bro, I'm straight. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to work out 6th period. I'm not going to jump in this pool. I just transferred there. I wasn't really bought in yet. And they said I couldn't go on the bus to the game. What, bro? I walked up to the bus. They're like, find your own way to the game if you don't want to do what the team's doing. So our trainer happened to be driving to the game, and I showed up to the game with our trainer literally at 7 o'clock.
Right about kickoff time. So we're walking up to the field. I was like, oh, yeah, this is prima donna at its finest. You know what I mean? Like every headline you can put out there to pump a team up. Like we're a young team, so we came out like, oh, let's show these guys. Yeah, a couple guys went to Oregon. We had a guy went to Northwestern, UCLA. So we had some guys. We ended up losing by 1 point. Well, blocked PAT, which I told them to go for 2. They didn't listen. They didn't listen to me to go for 2. But
and the only reason why the game was that close is because they didn't use me at running back yet. Promise you that.
But a little bit after that, so that was a senior year. I was going to SC, and that's where, I had a relationship with Gerhardt. So he was the head coach at Norco at the time because I was training his son Toby on the treadmills over at Athletic Republic, and he started bringing all of his players from Norco that he wanted to bring. He had a select
Asian
few.
special Jedi trainer everyone heard about.
So I'm over here training these guys over there, and then Jordan came in. He's like, I got to go to SC. I remember the first time I ran him. I think he lost his life.
Never wanted to come back.
He told give my packages to Dallas Kelly.
Yeah, take my package, bro.
Give Dallas all my workouts. I'm done.
Sign up for this shit. I just want to lift. That's how ignorant I was at 18, 19 years old. I thought lifting was everything. Like, we just got to lift. Like, hey.
But also, too, that was all programmed into our heads.
That's all we knew.
Yeah.
That's how bad our program was at Norco. It was the Arnold Schwarzenegger bodybuilder era, which is why none of the coaches that were coaching there could walk. None of the players could walk. Our bodies were beat up. They were broken. Yeah. The strength conditioning program was horrible. And first time I went to SC, I remember it's like, oh, I'm going to come in. Let's do bench press. And he looked at me like, you're not just coming in doing your own workout here. I'm like,
we have a program set. Yeah.
They're like, no, you're doing PVC pipe.
Yeah.
Like, we need to get your flexibility mobility. I never did power cleans, right? So it's like, to think how good I was in high school without even having
a knowledge, right?
No knowledge. I didn't even know what a foam roller was. I didn't know what recovery was. It was go to NutriShop, buy Trend, or we're gonna give you this, get strong as hell, and we're gonna put 8-10 guys in the box. And we're just gonna beat up on them for four quarters, right?
Yeah.
And it was such bad football, but we won, right? So they got away with it. But so that's
After that, I started doing obviously
driving from San Diego to
there, so my wife had ended up
for a while.
My wife was getting a residency down in San Diego, so I was driving from San Diego up to Rancho Cucamonga every day, 5-6 days a week. It's something I love doing. So
and name some of the guys you trained just through that.
There's a lot, man. We've had Chris Carter, who played for the Steelers, Fresno State kid. Lanye Miller, Fresno State, went to the Baltimore Ravens.
Yep, Super Bowl.
Josh Shirley with the UW.
Yep. Kenny Clark,
Pro Bowler.
Dante Dion,
Jamal Williams. All those guys were all from the IE area. That
he was a San Bernardino guy.
Yeah, so the IE is split up in like a 951 and a 909, right? So
early years he was a 909er.
And I was in the 909 Rancho Cucamonga area.
Yeah.
And then
he was a Rancho Cucamonga alumni.
Yeah, I went out there too. So shout out CJ Stroud, alumni guy over there.
Did you guys
Patrick Chung was one of my first DBs I ever coached. So I got into the coaching game before I got into the training game. So I was coaching at Rancho Cucamonga High School. We had a nice little squad there. Then I went to Los Osos. But then I got into got my degree in exercise science and sports biomechanics and exercise physiology, and kind of like it went hand in hand, coaching and training.
Yeah.
It just made sense. So I was still doing my football stuff at the high school coaching, and I got introduced to performance training.
What prompted you, so we always talk about, at the time, we had the philosophies that we were taught, which was just get as big and get as strong as you possibly can. Literally.
And then run treadmills.
And but no one did that, though.
Yeah. That was the new thing.
That did that. Yeah. So, this is an honest question because I don't think we've ever even talked about it. What made you I'm going to start doing human performance? Where did that even come from?
So I was finishing up my last year in college, and I was coaching at Osos, and then they have those coaches profiles and this and that, and one of the kids that went to that high school, he wasn't a football player, he was a baseball player actually, was reading the program, and he saw my my degree, right, and he was like, let me call this guy up, see if he's looking for a job.
Wow.
Literally, that's how it happened.
And who was that?
His name was Daryl Barnes. Okay. So he
the original
owner of Acceleration. It was called Acceleration at the time.
Yeah.
Then we transferred into Athletic Republic. So I got a phone call from my head coach. It was like, hey, this parent wants to talk to you about possibly working.
Wow.
You're finishing up school and you're looking for somebody to run their whole business.
And how old were you when you were at Los 22?
22.
Okay.
Yeah. 18, so I was 18, and 21 I was over at Osos, and I was at coaching up there. And then he came. I remember walked in on a Saturday, asked me am I familiar with movement? And I was like, yeah, this is what I went to school for. And then he kind of introduced me to the new wave of how performance training has evolved, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you said in the very beginning today.
It
was just about lifting with your coaches at sixth period, and then you just did whatever on the field. That's how it was, and no one watched you. There's 100 guys out there, and half of them were working, half of them were just playing around. Yeah. Some of them just left to go get food.
Back in the day, their thing was, all right, football season's over.
Yeah,
we'll lift with you. They go run track.
Go run track.
Go play basketball. Yep. Let's go play baseball.
Play a second sport. Do something else because we can't watch you because we have other things to do. So that's how that ended up happening. And then I got introduced to that, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool of the science behind everything. The guy who actually invented the whole overspeed technology and science behind it was a guy named Frappier. And he was actually part of the U.S. Olympic training staff. And they were, I know it's a long drawn out thing, but in the 80s, right, during the Olympics, and that's when the Soviet Union was really big in their sports science stuff.
Yeah. It must have been.
And he actually studied out there, and he kind of understood how they were changing the mentality of training. It wasn't just lifting weights anymore. It was doing overspeed work, doing change of direction movements and movement pattern work, just to get the body to have a different type of trigger, right? And that's where speed when people say you can't teach speed, you can, right? Yeah, there's guys that are just gifted with speed, right? Like guys, you just come out and they're flying. You know, all they know is how to run. But you can always adjust how athletes, you know, create speed and then how they develop speed. So that's how we got into the whole training thing. And then, you know, it was a small company at first, but you know, it was a area where there's a lot of talent, just kind of how Corona was. Like around here, it was like, dude, there's a pocket of guys like, oh, all these guys went to the league. And then you go to the 909 area, all these guys went to the league.
Yeah.
There's like pockets of really great athletes. So like, you know, I got introduced to some guys, and they started training with me. And then it just got bigger, you know, and then like slowly building relationships with them, and then like, you know, one or two.
I could imagine like when it's brand new and like a couple
So many
dudes start
people,
talking about it and they're doing it. It's like, damn,
Yeah.
this is new wave. Like, damn, I'm feeling good. And then you see him on the field at practice and you're watching him, you're like, man, he looks fast. He looks explosive. Like, I'm trying to get in on something.
There's
Like
very
and
few
what kind of
players who
married-
really look like that.
Yeah.
I would always go back. Hey, Toby was the first one.
Yeah,
It's
and
like,
that was the thing I was
how
gonna
are you
say.
that big, strong, and fast.
fast.
Either you're
Yeah.
big and slow, or was you're small and you're quick.
And you're quick. And that's where like where I was at, and then like all this area started kind of like getting merged together.
Yeah.
Because Todd started bringing guys over. You know, and Garrett was like, "Hey, this is my son. He's about to go to Stanford.
Yeah.
Work him out." And here's some of my guys. Just, you know, he brought this blue van with 6-7
us
guys
in
in
it,
there.
bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
And
all-
it came
we
from
all
like
up
from
there.
Jordan to DeAndre Lewis to Carl Bradford to his other kid Gerhardt,
Kelsey,
like
yeah.
Kelsey Young. There's, I mean, the list goes
year
on,
after
man.
year.
There's 1,000 guys that have come through and trained and have made it to the next level, and a lot, and not just a handful, but you know, a big number that did make it to the NFL. And I think that's the
difference.
kind of like the difference is like we've seen the transition, you know, year after year after year from the guys who've been part of a program from a young age, 8th grade, high school, college, the league, and we kind of see the path and what it takes to get there, you know. And that's kind of where our relationship started getting, developed, is when I started training him when you were coming home from SC. And then when you left SC, I remember the conversation we had way back. It was like, when I was at SC, everybody wanted me to train at the facility, right? When you're a guy and
For sure.
come to my facility to help promote,
Yeah,
right?
that's all it was.
And
yeah.
when you were gone, nobody wanted you to
Don't
come.
give a shit. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then it was like, hey, E, I got Cassius Marsh and Jared Coster and Ricky Marvey. They want to work out. And I was like, come on, let's go work out. You know, and it was like, I think that relationship was like, this dude, doesn't matter if I'm at Highlands or if I'm at SC, he's ready to just come and train me.
Yeah,
That's how it is. That's how it always been. And I think that's where our relationship started kind of to build even
Most
more right
definitely.
there.
Yeah, because once I
going-
came home in 2013, the first place I started training at, and this was like the pivotal moment on where Winter Circle really kind of was shaped, right? I was training at this place called Strong Gym 101, right?
Sorry, down
to
the
do
street, right?
weightlifting because it was right down the street from my house, so it was easy, right? And I was tired. Not tired. I kept getting caught sneaking into LA Fitness, right? So the alarm would
Didn't
go
have a
off in the
membership
back
there for about
door.
5 years.
I had zero money to my name, blah, blah, blah. So at this point, right, so we got to back that up, right? So going back to the original story, when I was in LA working for my buddy or working for our company, Teague, I was at Exos, the best training facility technically in the country. I was living at a house on the beach, oceanfront walk, $20 million, 3-story house. But I would get up every morning. I would train from 8 to about 2. I would come home, and then I would learn business from 2 to probably 8 p.m. at night, right? And then we would go out from probably 8 to 1 o'clock in the morning. Whether it was the bungalows or whatever was going on around that area, it was just a nonstop party in the evening time. And as hard as we worked, we also played hard, right? And after the first month, it was like, okay, this might be unsustainable, right? Second month, after I had to pay that $2,000 to Exos again, I was like, dang, okay, yeah, I'm making a little bit of money here. I have a room here to stay. I'm here with my boys, but I still want to play football. I want to get an opportunity to get where I need to get. And the third month going into it, so this is September, October, I get to November, and I had no money left to pay for Exos, right? And then during that time, Beckham, the soccer player, was at the Galaxy, and then you had the Chivas there at the Home Depot Center, and that's where they all trained at. and they were short on interns and things like that. So they enjoyed having me there. They enjoyed me working with these guys. So that was kind of my first little taste of seeing a training facility and how it really worked in the infrastructure, and really being a intern and start training at Exos, right? I was training myself as an athlete. Then I started working with the soccer players there for me just to get free training for that November month. And then once I came back, again, I would go do my business at the house. I'd help them run their company. And then conversations start forming. You're meeting all these people, right? Got a bunch of money. You're out partying, but they all come back and everyone has business meetings. At least at our house, we did throughout the day. So as I'm hearing people put ideas together and create business plans and to do all these things, I started putting my first business plan together. I thought it was so freaking great. But really, when I presented to all these different people who have money around me, they just said, well, this is a wish list, right? And I felt so offended by it. Like, what do you mean this is a wish list? Like, no, like we could do this. This is what it looks like. This is how it works. This is what we're going to charge. This is what we're going to offer. And at that time, I was still dating my girlfriend, which is my wife now. She lived in Temecula. So I was living in a $20 million mansion on Oceanfront Walk in Marina Del Rey. I was driving to X5. I was training at Exos. I was living the professional athlete off-season lifestyle that everybody wants. Very few get. Like I literally, my buddy I was living with is worth $650 million, right? Parents own Nantucket Nectar. They started Alamo Car Rental. Like just, it was wealth beyond wealth, but it was fake to me because it wasn't my house. It wasn't my car. We're popping bottles every night. We're hanging out with the celebs, right? Lindsay Lohan. We're with everyone. There's very few. When you're that 1%, you're part of that thing, and it's very exciting, right? But at the same time, you have to go back to your room at the end of the night, and you're not that, right? So as I experienced that lifestyle and not being able to be the guy who owned the house, the car, and I'll have money in my pocket, it just reminded me of SC all over again, right? Because at SC, we only had $1,100 stipend, right? $1,100 stipend, but we're taking private planes. Fertitta, who owns the UFC, his daughter's name was Kelly. She was in the sorority across the street. We're taking private planes with them to his fights, right? Jerry Buss's son, Jesse, was from LMU, who hung out with us all the time. So we're going to Lakers games. We're going to the bar underneath the stadium, the club, hanging out with the players and the owners, right? But again, we're 18 years old, 19. That's not us, right? We're just there because we're on the SC football team. So it kind of gave me that same feeling is I don't want to fake it till we make it. And at this point, I'm 24 years old. We had something really good going with Winter Circle, not Winter Circle, but COS. And this was my time just to say, screw it. I'm going to go all in, right? But at that time, the money you think you need to start a training facility, we didn't have. And we had nobody to invest into that. But in all reality of things, we never had that money, right? So when we started the first Winter Circle, came home. I was driving to Temecula from Marina Del Rey to see my girlfriend. And slowly but surely, I just wasn't going back to Marina Del Rey, right? I stopped going out there, stopped doing that stuff, gave my buddy his car back and said, hey, bro, I just got to focus on what I'm doing out here, right? And that's when we went all in on Winter Circle. And all in for us was $10,000, right? I didn't have money to go and hire Alicia like I do now. I didn't have money to pay Wes, right? We didn't have the money to do these things. So $10,000, we found a building right down the street, 500 Harrington. It was $2,000 for the first month of rent and $2,000 deposit. So out of the $10,000 Winter Circle started with, we had $6,000 left to build our facility. We went to AGL Turf, right? 35 cents a square foot. You remember that? We found dog shit used turf, and we went through these piles and dirt and rubber all over us to find the best patches of turf we could find. We put the turf in the facility, and the only other person who's been here since day one up till now is Troy Olson, right? So I got to give love to Troy Olson. I got to give him his flowers. If you know Troy, you know he's always around, and he has been there since day one in every single facility. And we were the masterminds, the workers on the training side behind it. But the person who allowed us to be able to do this was Troy, because he could build and do anything that we needed him to be able to do, right? So we bought the turf. Troy helped us install it. We bought this stupid laminate.
The flooring.
We bought this
the lick 'em and stick 'em
the
flooring.
lick 'em and stick 'em floor. We got to get a wood weight room floor, blah.
It wasn't safe for squatting.
Bro, it wasn't, bro. So we got this wood flooring that looked good. We painted the walls ourselves. Like, we didn't even wash the walls off or paint them white. Like, we painted over cobwebs.
Glue.
Like, just,
glue off the carpet.
That's actually false, because I remember so we had to move those old ladies out.
Go back to that.
Get all the
story.
clothes in there.
Go ahead.
No, it was
So we either got 1 month rent for free, or we would get 2 if we could help these old ladies. So it was a nonprofit. So the building we had was like 3,000 square feet, and there was a nonprofit business in there that took donations for clothes, but they were hoarders. At the end of the day, crazy old ladies.
they took it and never donated.
They never donated anywhere. They just collected all this clothes, and the owner or the landlord of the building is like, "Hey, we have this unit available. They haven't paid like in 3 years." And it was from top to bottom, just clothes everywhere, right? And they said you could get 1 month free of rent, or you could get 2 if you could help them. If you want to help these old ladies move everything out.
The dustiest stuff.
Bro.
I think I got a disease that day.
Straight
a
up.
fresh disease. And so we moved them out. And I remember we're trying to clean the walls because we had to paint. You can't paint over dust. The paint won't
It was
stick.
nasty, yeah.
I'm wiping the walls as fast as I can. My hand catches a nail and it just dices
slice
my
you
whole
up.
hand open.
I think that's when Wes quit and went back to kebab.
No, I washed it, duct taped it up, and we finished that day. But
Those were exciting times.
Yeah.
Because as shitty as the situation was, right? Because when I came home, I was right back to living on the couch or your house, right? You were living at home at that time. During this time, you were living at your father-in-law's house, right?
father-in-law's house, and that's when I broke off, started doing my own thing, and Academy of Speed, and that was going great, man.
When you did yours, it was take no days off.
Yeah, take no days off.
right?
It was at Academy of Speed, yeah. TNDO, man, and it was we had a nice little facility, but I was just running my own thing,
And so to go back a little bit, once I came home from Marino Del Rey, and we secured the money to go and put, like, literally, I could show you, there's the first money that went into our bank account was $10,000. We had to figure out where the training was, like, who we're going to hire to be the trainer, right? We went to this guy's Strong Gym 101, right? And that's when we got the idea of, we don't really need this massive training facility really to be able to do what we want to do. We just need a spot where it's like a little, maybe his spot was like 1,000 square feet.
It was really small.
Really small, right? And he was doing good stuff out there, right? Most of the workouts were in the street. And then we had Alicio. Our background, at least for me and Jesse and Wes, we're more strength conditioning guys. Alicio was more of our movement guy, like speed, agility, everything that we needed to do. And then we went and talked to Alicio where he was at and said, "Hey, bro, this is what we're doing. We have enough to pay the rent for the first maybe month or two, right? We have 2 months free. So we had to make enough money in the first 2 months, really 6 weeks, right? We started building this thing December and January. So if you've been paying attention to our Instagram page, we just had our 10-year anniversary, February 15th. So that was the first day that we had to pay our rent, was the month of February. So we got in there December. January was free. During this time, as we're painting and blasting walk through and all these little songs, we had a stereo system, that's for sure. We had the turf. We really didn't have the weight room. Troy's doing everything all the way around us. So what we're doing right now, moving the facility around, is nothing normal. We always done that. We've always been able to operate. But going back to the story is, as we're building our first facility in December and January, we had the best players in the Inland Empire history there, right? You're talking about Vontas was in that shit. You had Ronald Powell, you had Will Smith, you had Dante Dion, you had Kenny Clark. Like, the dogs were there, bro. They knew where the work could get done. It didn't matter if it was a $10 million facility.
As long as the music was loud.
Yeah, we had, bro, the music was loud.
In there.
Yeah, as long as they could hook up their phone to it, right? And they knew they're going to get a good workout in. And they're going to have a good vibe, right? And the difference between hiring the guy with Mike to Alicio really came down to, one, the background from strength and conditioning, but also the personality, right? And the personality Alicio has, and if you worked with Alicio, right, he's a fun guy and he draws you to him and you want to be around him, right? And that's what, for me, when I trained with them versus other trainers, was you could go there, you could get a good workout in, but it's the environment that you're going into as you enjoy. You don't leave immediately after your workout. You hang hang around you, talk, right? Those are all the things that what makes Alicio special as a human being, but also as a trainer is you want to be around that energy. If I have to go die for 2 hours, at least I could die in peace.
Have a little fun.
At least
Have a little fun doing it.
At least I can have a little fun as I'm dying and not just dying and have a dickhead coach just yelling at me the whole time, right? And that's why I'm not a strength coach or a trainer, because I don't care about your feelings. We're getting to work, right? So we all brought something different to the table. So as we go between these two guys that we're trying to figure out who we want to start this with, Alicio ends up being the guy that we says, all right, let's do it. And at this time, his wife might have been pregnant with.
Mariah was already born, so Mariah was
born, right?
Mariah was one, almost. She was turning 2 that year. Farrah was about to be born.
Yeah.
Right. And I had, like I said, I was 31, 32.
Right? So you're 31 at this time. I was in 2013, 14. I was 25. You were 22. 23. So just so you guys understand, like, kind of the context behind it, 25, just got cut from the NFL, had nothing, not a place to sleep, pretty much homeless.
23 and slinging kebabs.
Working at the Middle Eastern spot.
32, one baby, was second one on the way. I was establishing a good little network out in where I was at.
You had
at Ground Zero. I started. If anyone knows what that is, that's a 7-on-7 organization that came about with Armand Hawkins and Anthony Brown, and I trained all their kids from Chris to Armand to Anthony Brown Jr. And Ground Zero came about out of what I was doing, and you know, we had 120, 130 kids every night training, working, like, you know, and it was something good. But I just knew there was something more, you know. And just
to, not to cut you off, but so when he was doing that, he had 120 kids, but he called it $10 footwork night.
Yeah.
And at this
$10
point,
Thursdays, $10 Tuesday, Thursdays.
Like taco night, $10 Tuesday, dog.
Come in and get a group training session in. Had 6 stations rocking.
And kind of think where our mindsets were at then, right? He was doing $10 workouts. We were selling $20 t-shirts.
Yeah.
Right. And when I was seeing kind of what was going on around us, and once I was at Exos and I seen the Travell Gaines and the spot he had that charged $20,000 at this little place, it was the work. It really wasn't the facility, right, at the time, and the relationships those people had.
Yeah.
And when we came back together and said, hey, screw the $10 workouts, screw selling $20 t-shirts. We got to sell so many t-shirts to become millionaires and to buy your own house for your family, to do that, right? To get a car, to get to work, right? So when we first started at Winter Circle, was Alicio came in. We built the facility up. We have $6,000 to buy used weights, used turf, whatever. And we created the package and we created the methodology that we run today. And that's linear, lateral, vertical movement, right? Alicia was doing footwork training. We're doing strength and conditioning, but there really wasn't a program, right? There wasn't a ideology behind what we were trying to do, right? It's just like, cool, I did some footwork today, right? I did this. And it's like, no. There's a different way, right? And when I seen it at the level I was training at, it was pretty much what Alicia was doing. It's just we didn't have the program system set, right? And when we created our linear and lateral vertical movement that has created the #1 player in California year after year after year after year after year, right? You've seen people talk about speed and agility training, right? You see it on their flyers. They took our verbiage. We went to movement pattern training. They took our verbiage. We went to human performance training. They took our verbiage. But they do all these things that they don't understand what it really is, right? So going from footwork training and speed and agility training to movement pattern training, right? It's a progression program that we created, linear, lateral, and vertical. That program for us being out of this little 3,000 square foot spot, do you guys remember how much it cost? $600.
Yeah.
It was $600 for I want to say it was $600 for a 12-week program, which really wasn't a lot. That's $200 a month, right?
It was like an hour and a half too. I think we
had an hour and a half.
I remember doing we did every movement pattern in one day.
We had Marcus Williams, who's in the NFL, throwing up in the trash can. Trey Watson, Austin, like the best players out of the area.
Yeah, everyone,
that best players out of that area. JJ Taylor, Cam Bynum in the NFL, JJ in the NFL. Like all these guys they got their first taste of real training. Was at that little shoe, we call it the shoe box, right? Because you have about 2,000 square feet of warehouse. not even really that, because you had the nutrition room, if that's what you want to call that. And you had a strip of turf that ran out of the back
Out
of the
into
building
into the sandbox we made.
into a dumpster.
Of the
right?
dumpster.
And it was a street. It's where Boost is at. So if you know where Boost is at now, that was our first winter circle. And there's a back alley where
We
cars
have
drive.
to stand back there to make sure we could run through, so no cars.
Because you don't want a kid
coming
running
by.
out and then a car just comes by and hit him, right?
For context, the
Go.
longest strip of where you could gain the most speed just so happened to leave right out the
outside
back
the
roll-up
gate.
door, which led into the alley.
Which
And
led
you
into
didn't-
a dumpster.
You
Yeah,
didn't
the
know
dumpster.
if a giant UPS truck or a FedEx truck was going to roll by and kill
Oh.
you. So you always had to have someone out there
Someone out there
for you.
watching. It was
Look
like
at
play, it's
left
like
or
play,
right.
like play football in the street. Remember?
Hey,
Like,
hey, you might have to jump cut this UPS.
Game
truck,
on.
dog. Spin, right? And I remember we had a little kid. I can't remember his name, but he stopped and his cleats stopped. And he went underneath the damn dumpster, and he had all mud underneath him. It's like, free month of training, you're good. So the program we created was our linear, lateral, and vertical program. And then we brought the overspeed treble in,
Yeah.
which is another
That
whole
was-
funny
yeah.
story itself, right?
a couple interns up to Oregon.
And we had December to build it. We had January to get as many guys in there as possible, right? To market it, right? And that's what we did better than any other facility.
Also, too, you're missing something. That was at the time when we really started having those huge camps on Saturdays.
Yes, so that goes to 2013.
Those
so
camps,
we funneled that in.
Those camps ended up being big for us because you had the
Everybody.
two things. You had the clothing, which the clothing really, the COS evolved like into our work uniforms.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
like it's not a regular uniform, and you kind of see
It was
around
the
here
swag.
today.
It was the
It's like, yeah,
streetwear.
like, you know,
I want that shirt.
This,
Yeah, I want that
this,
shirt.
Like,
you know, like-
well, this is their uniform for the day. It's like, whoa, this is my kid's uniform. So
Yeah.
for us, like, we were just wearing the
just
same
had our
stuff
drip. Yeah.
that we'd been wearing. And so to now go and have those camps
let's back it up
and
then,
offer
yeah.
like really high levels of the game. And then we would always have, you know, like Ron would be out there teaching
Yeah.
the linebackers, DNs, and just a lot of high level guys that were
level.
out there kind of taking the stuff that they had just got fresh off of learning
Yeah.
and then giving it to these high school guys. We had a lot of youth. I think we had 200 kids per camp, so 400 kids
100%.
per weekend.
Yep. So what he's talking about, we were the first 7-on-7 and 5v5 really organization in Riverside County, right? You had Ground Zero was killing it in San Bernardino County, right? And you had Rare Breed up there. Then we started a 7-on-7 stuff with Vic Veramontes.
That's when we had our tank top uniforms,
Yep.
bro. That's when we first.
DJ Ukulele was our quarterback
DJ
on our
Shane.
8th grade team. Shane Illingsworth, Chris Hutchinson, Isaiah Young. Like the dogs we had in the program was just insane,
The
right?
Dye brothers, Troy died.
Troy died,
Yeah,
Travis
we had them
died.
all, man.
Yep.
It was
NFL guys, right? So yeah, leading into open the building, I guess you can take it back. We coached the Corona Chargers that year, right? And we were at the Corona Chargers youth football program. We won the Super Bowl there. We started our 7-on-7 camps going into November, December. And then boom, that led into the grand opening of Winter Circle in January, where like the building was done, but it really wasn't done. You know, nothing was up to code. How funny is this?
It was like soft open.
All we did was open a bank account. We bought a square, and we had social media. We didn't have a business license to the city of Corona. We weren't official business when we first started. It's like, all right, what do we need? We need a building. What do you need? $4,000 to start? Okay. How are we going to make it next month? We don't know. We need 2 months free. Cool. We'll get an extra month for cleaning these old ladies out and helping them move stuff. All right. So we got pretty much a month to build it, a month to get as many bodies in here. So once February hits, we have to make enough for $2,000 to pay the overhead, and any money that was left will go to Alicio. Right? It's like whatever we could make to pay you, Alicio, you're the first priority. You're the only person who gets
We
paid.
got just a few $100.
Right?
All right, we'll make it work, bro. We'll keep this thing
Straight
growing.
up. And
Yeah.
this wouldn't have worked unless he would have sacrificed. He would have sacrificed, and I would have sacrificed. All right. We all had something that we could add to this pot, to the circle, to make it really work. Right. And so much selflessness, and it was so much you could call it arrogance, you could call it confidence, but really it was faith. We knew we had the faith, and we had something from a t-shirt that we created, and there was juice from these YouTube videos where people wanted to follow our direction and they wanted to follow what we were doing. And behind that, we had the knowledge of what it took to get to the next level and how to do it before people even really did it, right? So We're in January now. We have our grand opening February 15th. It's on YouTube.
It was
I posted
packed
every
with
time there's an
people that day.
anniversary. At our grand opening, we realized instead of being in a 2,500 square foot facility, 3,000 square feet, we needed a 20,000 square feet, right? Our grand opening was so big with pro athletes, right? Olympic athletes that would come, a lot of people in the network, right? Before training facilities open, right? There's a lot of hate now on what we do because, right? Everyone wants to build you up. And once you're successful, you have to tear that person or that company down, because if not, then who's going to work their way back up to that top? When you're at the top of the mountain, people build you up until you get there. And it's like, okay, we've seen how they did it. We didn't have enough balls. We didn't have enough brass. We didn't have the vision. We didn't have the understanding. We didn't have anything and know how to get there. But now we built them up and they're there. Only way we could get there now is by tearing them down and try to replace them, right? And once we did that, we were the pinnacle of what we were trying to build. Those things started to happen. But before then, everyone supported because it was something so new. It wasn't a multi-million-dollar investor, some old dude that came in and opened up a Velocity, who opened up Adrenaline, who opened up Athletic Republic. We weren't them. We looked like the people that wanted to do this and had the dreams and vision to open their own facility. So in the beginning, we had so much support for everybody because we were bringing so much knowledge and information. We're dropping jewels and gems on them. And the grand opening was so big that the $10,000, $4,000 went to that. The $6,000 went to building the facility. We had zero money in the bank account to pay our rent. By the end of that, we're slinging $600 packages, right? $600 packages times 100 kids that are doing it. That's $60,000 a month, right? And through that 6 month and that 6 month period, the business was booming, right? And during that time when we started Winter Circle to February or January, right before our grand opening, I ended up going to the Kansas City Chiefs, right? I got a call from Eric Bieniemy, who's now the offensive coordinator at UCLA. He was the 2-time Super Bowl coach for the Kansas City Chiefs. He was the offensive coordinator at the Redskins last year. He called me and said, "Hey, Jordan, I recruited you out of high school, you and Toby. Do you want to come to Kansas City for a workout? Blah, blah, blah." End up flying out there, killing my workout because the whole time as we're building Winter Circle, I'm training with Alicio every single morning. Grind. Finish up, go eat some food, and then I come back and we start training the kids in the evening time. And I probably hop in a workout with Trey Watson and them and the guys who got out of school. So I'm doing 2 days of workouts. And I got another opportunity, ended up signing for the Chiefs, right? And then so as we building the company and the brand, I'm getting ready for spring training in April. So as the company's going, I leave in April after our grand opening. We're killing it. We have something, the momentum's there. We're something new that's no one's seen before, right? Then as we go through the Kansas City Chiefs phase, right, I make about $100,000 from the practice squad. But as we go through January to June, we realize that we have to grow up and we have to learn. And what I mean by that is we didn't know that we couldn't stay busy for 12 months out the year. And I'm going to give you gyms right now for all you other people who are opening gyms. And this costs a lot of money, but we'll give it to you for free. Football players only train January to June. So from July to December, all your athlete and your entire clientele base is in season. So you have to make enough money for the first 6 months to last the last 6 months, which is why so many gyms fail. Think about how many gyms have popped up and closed down. It's because they didn't understand that, right? And there's a lot of people who want to open gyms who don't because they understand that, right? And that's when our ideology and that's when our vision changed and said, we can't just do football training. We'll never survive, right? So our first Winter Circle closed down in about July of our first year being there, right? Because we just didn't know what we didn't know. We're new to the game. And
A lot of mistakes.
Right? And Winter Circle is where it's at because we went through so many mistakes that you can't even, no one would make it through what we went through, right? Unless we had God and
you
faith
get that
on our
whole
side.
cliche of never giving up, and we didn't.
No, we never did,
We
right?
figured a way to, even when we did close down, it was like, okay, we got to find a park. Let's go find another.
Yeah.
And it was always like, the substance is there. Now we got to make it work. And how do we create that substance outside of that little box that we had? And then how are we going to keep this machine moving? Because it was taken away for a minute, right?
100%. And when it closed down, we went to Chino Hills Park.
Hills Park.
Chino Hills Park, right? And we still had it.
That's where we met Dov.
That's where Coach Davila came in. So talking about the longest people who've been around, it was us three, Troy. We can't get rid of him. And then here comes good old the wizard Davila. The good old Wiz was out there doing quarterback training, still screaming Mijo. And that's where we met Coach Davila at. And during that time, it's 2014 now, right? We go through 2014. We don't have a facility at this time. We don't even need to go into the Chino thing. That was a horrible decision we
Batters
did. Right?
up.
That was horrible. Batters up. Now it's 2015. I get cut from the Kansas City Chiefs in like October of that year, right? So now I'm back home again. Still don't have a place to live. Got a little bit of money left in my pocket, whatever. But one of the people, his name's Joe Valeni, Norco family, sold his the farms off of Limelight, which Eastville is now. That was his family's, and they sold that worth $500 million, right? Almost $1 billion. We had him at our grand opening, and they had these silly goggles called Swivel Vision. Great product, but they're trying to, like us, right? They're trying to figure out how to do it. He had all the money in the world, but no vision, no structure, nothing understanding how to do it in the sports world. We had all the vision in the world, hard work, dedication, willing to get our hands dirty, but no money, right? So if you remember back to our first facility, we had Swivel Vision on the wall. First, he wanted to invest like $350,000 into it, $500,000, and we're playing with these numbers and things like that. But where we were at from January to July wasn't the same company we're at in July to December. We closed down now, right? So someone who wants to put that much money into what we're doing, we had to figure out how we could sustain the business for a full year-round business. And if anybody's going to put real money into it, you want to make sure you don't shut down again, right? So we had this huge high in 2014 that we had something to like, oh shit, all of our clients are gone, right? We don't have enough to pay the bills now. We're screwed. So he ends up, instead of investing into us, I pretty much told him, give us $100,000 and I'll pay you back $100,000 in 1 year. Like literally 1 year from today, give us the money. We need a bigger building. Because at this point now, I'm cut from the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm back home, and we're trying to now. We know there's a window of opportunity to do this again, but do it right and do it bigger, which is December. Build it. January.
Camps. Remember we did camps
we were doing again. 7-on-7, right? So it was like we're right back to the same format that we just went through, but now let's do it with the bigger building. There's more risk, right? There's more things like that. And the reason why he ended up not investing into it was he said, I'll give you the money, the $500,000, but I'm not going to sign for the lease and be responsible for the 3-year guarantee for the $1 million+ for the building, right? So I had to figure out how to get the money to open the new facility, but also I needed someone with enough balls and enough belief into what we were doing to sign the building and lease the building for us, right? So here we go, back to my boy T. Geegan from USC. He's the most positive person because he believes, because his life, I would say, has been so blessed. He never, not saying he never sees anything that's going to happen wrong. The biggest thing I took away from our relationship was, Jordan, why can't you do something? Right? Why can't you be a billionaire? Why can't you create the next best thing? Why can't you open your own training facility? Why can't you open your charter school, right? So once you're around people like that, it's very infectious. So I went back to him and said, hey, T, you were at our grand opening. Same thing with this other guy. He's willing to put up the money for us to build it and not want any money back, just wanted to get his $100,000 back. But I can't get the building because when you're in college athletics, you have no credit. Even if you get made $1 million and you're coming out of college, in the community, in the world, and the environment I'm from, no one's teaching you how to build your credit. No one's teaching you how to credit cards and this. It's from my background was, don't ever get a credit card. It's going to ruin your life.
Worst advice ever. That's the same advice I got.
Because our parents messed up.
That is the worst advice.
Right? So now we're sitting here. Okay, I made about say $100,000 with the Chiefs. Really, after taxes, it's 50 grand. Finally moved in with my girlfriend, who's my wife now, because she said she's going to leave me if I didn't. So we're at their Deer Hood apartments. I'm driving a 1998 ugly ass old Escalade. Finally had a car to get to work. And we now convinced enough people to believe in us, to do our dream, to invest into us. So we took his money from Swivel Vision. We took my buddy who's Teague. He said, I believe in what you guys could do. I'll back you. I'll co-sign on the 3-year lease for you guys. I just want 15% of the company. Dick ass move, Teague, right? But thank you, because we couldn't get to where we're at now unless, right, your Jewish ass did that. So he signed for the building, co-signed for that for 3 years. We took the $100,000, and again, the $100,000 doesn't mean you have $100,000 to buy equipment. We literally had to. What do they want? They want $20,000 for their first, and they want their deposit. So here we go again. It's like a $10,000 situation again. We took $10,000 and we 10x'd it and turned to technically $100,000, right? Now here we go again. So we put $40,000 first month deposit. We have $60,000 left. To then, what do? We have to get the turf again.
Surfaces.
We have to get the surface. So all we had in our first facility was turf, rubber, no weight room, no treadmill, no nothing. So if you look at our facility now, it's completely different.
We got a lot of Michael Cummings. Shout out to him from Skills.
Thank you, Skills.
He donated and helped us out a little bit to get this stuff going.
Huge. That's the only reason we could get there. And no one knew what Skills was back then.
It wasn't. Yeah,
right?
It was Spark before, wasn't it?
No,
yes.
That was Nike was Spark.
Nike. So I met Michael at my combine stuff from the NFL.
Yeah, because they were part of Exos.
They're Exos. Mm-hmm. So I seen all the stuff they were using at Exos and said, okay, cool. I'd never seen this before. Right? It's crazy how things have evolved, right? Bungee bands, the mini bands, all these different sandbags, right? So pretty much we had turf, rubber. I don't know why we had rubber, because we had nothing to put on it. No weight room, right? We had nothing. And then we had all this skills equipment. So we said, we're not even selling strength and conditioning at the time. Mm-hmm. All we're selling is our movement pattern training again. Then we ended up making a little bit of money. Then we ended up getting a treadmill. Then we went to raw equipment. And we bought our first little weight rack for like $2,500.
Still have those colored plates too.
Right?
55-pounders. Dude.
Man, raw equipment. So like we started doing that. And we had a little half-court basketball court. So that's kind of where we're at in 2015. We had our building, the 1026 Railroad building we're at now. We had the space and we had the opportunity. We had the vision. We had the hard work. We had the dedication. But again, we didn't have a dollar to our name, right? So we've always worked behind the 8 ball at Winter Circle, because we never took a loan out from the bank. Well, I never did, right? Never got an investment from anybody, because the $100,000 was just a favor to help build Swivel Vision. And we gave up 15% of the company to have someone co-sign on our building, but we didn't have the luxury to go and have a $500,000 investment, $300,000 of operating capital. And I think God does everything in mysterious ways, and he did it that way because we had to bet on ourselves. We had to take care of our families. We had to go and figure this stuff out. And if we didn't, we would have lost it all. Right. And that's what wires us, I believe, till today, where we're at now is, well, you're owner of the company. You're the head director. You're the COO. You're this. Right. And it's, why do you guys here for 12 hours a day? Why do you guys still work 7 days a week, 10 hours later? Because I still have the fear in my heart. If we don't, what happens? Mm-hmm. Right. And not so much the fear, but also what else am I going to do? I enjoy doing what we're doing. We built this with our own hands. And the mindset from when I was 25 years old to where I'm 35 years old is you get up, you go to work. That's what you do for the day. You build the brand, you protect the brand, you encourage these athletes, and we just continue to scale the business. So during that time, we didn't have an opportunity to really fuck up. There was no wiggle room to mess up. And we did it for 2 months again, because again, now during that 2015, I go to the Redskins, right? Go to the Redskins and I'm gone again, the same time frame. So as I'm running and building Winter Circle Athletics with these guys, I'm gone half the year for football. And the other half the year, I'm here doing my own training as an athlete, trying to make it, but then helping run the company with these guys, right? And this time around, I'm gone again in Washington, D.C. Instead of losing the company this time, it was about 6 months, right? Last time was 6 months we struggled, July through about that December time. This time was probably like August, September was like our hard months. But I think, was that the Corona Chargers we coached again, or we were at Norco that time? No, that's probably Corona Chargers, right?
That's where we started.
Wolfie and all those guys.
The school started.
Yeah, so that following meeting Johnny
getting
Fruit.
all the best players out of there.
Yep.
Talk to them about doing school.
That time. So as we're going through this time now, I come back. So again, I end up going on IR, tearing my labrum, my shoulder, and I had a decision. Do you stay with the team and have an opportunity to go back to spring training the following year and live in DC, or do I come back home? Because at that time we started SSR, which is Sports Specific Rehab. Ryan and Rod, shout out to you guys, right? We helped pick their name, we branded it, the colors, we put them in. They started with 2 tables at a Winter Circle to now running a multi-million-dollar company. And when they started with us, they were part of Winter Circle. And because we had physical therapy here, I told the Redskins, give me my IR check. I'm going back home. I'm done pretty much playing football. And that's kind of when our rapid recovery program started. That's when we bought the Sorenex equipment. Mm-hmm. That's when we actually had enough capital to get through the scary months, right? Because it was literally scary. It's like, well, you got to pay this $10,000 overhead. Plus, at that time, we were paying trainers. You weren't making a lot. You're maybe $3,000 at that time, right? With 2 kids, right? In 2015, and Weston, I think you finally quit Kebab Hut.
No,
because your parents said, "Don't ever work there. Don't do it. You need to get a real job." Yeah, they did not believe in what we're doing.
Well, at the time, it was like, I would do the restaurant deal and then come to Winter Circle in the afternoon because that's when we had clients anyway. So I didn't really need to be the first part of the day. And
you interned and worked for free for a long time.
Yeah, didn't see a dime, but at the time it was like you said, there was excitement. It was exciting. We were doing things that we love. We love football. Like, come on, dude. We get to coach football and strength all day, every day. Like, come on.
And at that time, it was just 4 to 8.
Yeah, and so what ended up happening is, again, my sister got me into a different job.
Yep, you were at BJ's.
I was at BJ's, and then I worked at Sports Authority also, and then I had a third job. I think it was at Tilly's, all in the same complex off Cahalco. Yeah. So I would bounce around from all 3 of those, and then I told him, like, yep, I got to be out here at this time. I got my other job, obviously, was the freebie at Winter Circle. So that was happening all at that time. So working 3 jobs.
At this time, we were living at the 111 apartments, right? Because 2015.
No, it was the other one.
Artisan.
The Artisan.
And that's when I got cut and I was sleeping on the floor there.
Yeah, and it turned into a halfway house.
Really quick. So bad.
There's a couple of people that live there.
Yeah, bro. Literally sleeping on the floor trying to figure out if I'm going back to the team or not. Wow. Yep, so that's kind of where we're at in that time, 2015. And that's when it was like, all right, screw the NFL. I know the amount of work, time, and energy that I put into that. If I put into Winter Circle with the right people, we could make it a 8-figure company. And it was just going to take time. We knew we had something. You felt the momentum. You felt the energy. We started producing athletes. We started doing what we were doing. And we still had so much more knowledge over everybody else in the game. That's when we ended up buying the hyperbaric chamber. That's when rapid recovery happened. That's when the nutrition center happened. That's when we started going and saying, okay, we have Winter Circle, but there's still things that athletes need outside of just their speed, agility, and then their football training.
Well, that comes from where you were at a high level, and you were able to see that stuff. I mean, that was still miles ahead of what everyone else understood about training. But when you're going into a pre-combine class and they're taking care of your nutrition, your recovery, your massage,
it's an 8-hour day.
You're the whole 9, and it's like that was where I remember you bringing it up and where it all sprouted from. It's like, no, here, this is how they did it, and they have everything all in one room.
Up.
I mean, I think you had to travel sometimes, but you're like, screw it, let's bring that in here too.
Yeah.
And that's really how the
cryotherapy, the boots, right? Like Normatec. No one knew what Normatec boots were.
Compression therapy.
Right? We had compression therapy. We had the wrap gun.
Guns,
We had the hyperbaric chamber. We had the cryo. Now we had the cryo center set up. We had the nutrition store set up. We had the batting cages. So we now figured out ways to be a successful
outside of football. We incorporated every sport,
and that's where everyone else fails. They're just football coaches and football trainers, right? But we separated ourselves at a very early age because the first year that we failed, football and training one sport would never make it. Right? Even though I was a football guy and our company always gets labeled as football, we put out the best baseball players. You can check the facts, dog. basketball players. We have a McDonald All-American this year from Centennial. Devin went to UCLA. Like, dog, the athletes we put out in softball, baseball, basketball, football, lacrosse, it's the best players out of the Inland Empire, right? A couple of years ago, Grant Gray was Male Athlete of the Year from the Inland Empire for baseball and football, right? So we learned in probably 2016, we needed the batting cages. We needed the basketball court. We needed the nutrition. We needed the recovery. But the turning point in our company, when we took it from a 6-figure company to really a multi-million-dollar company, and that's when, right, you bought your house, I bought my house. We stopped thugging it and faking it till we make it, dog, and we weren't just food stamping it around, was when the school program started. Yeah. And the reason why I say that, and this is another nugget here that we're going to drop on people, is if you own a building, say you're paying $20,000 a month, for us, we can't train athletes until they get out of school. Right? So by the time they get out of school at 3:00, 4 to 8 is the only time you have a chance to train them. So for 4 hours of the day, when you're making money, the other 20 hours, you're not, right?
And if you're not making money, you're losing it.
If you're not making money, you're losing it, bro. And we really seen that. And it wasn't something new to us, right? When I was at Exos in LA, when I was training out there, I seen tennis players and volleyball, like weird sports, like golfers. And it's like what's this little kid doing here? Yeah. It's like, oh, I'm homeschooled, right? And you're training all day. It's like, you're on a program like I'm on in the league. Like, you got to be shitting me, right? With a great coach. Mm-hmm. But take it even further back to 2001 when I got held back, right? When I did my whole back process, this is 23 years ago of me independent study, getting held back in 8th grade, training, nothing like we do now, like not even close, right? I used to go to 24-hour fitness in the morning for an hour, no nutrition. Used to fold boxes at my parents' Round Table Pizza, open up the store, and then go work out at the varsity practice, right? Toby Gerhardt did that. His brother, Garth, like this was like that era of kind of guys getting held back. And my dad went to Norco High School. My mom went to Rubidoux. But obviously I went to Rubidoux first before I went to Norco. And we played versus Toby growing up. We played versus Chris Gallipo and DJ Shoemate and Matt Khalil at the Corona Chargers. So our little league was the Hoopa Stillers. Then you had the Riverside Rams with the guys that were over there. Then you had Corona Chargers. You had Norco. So I knew all these kids growing up. You kind of knew at that youth AAU level who's who. Yeah. And then you hear everyone kind of like, oh, we're doing this whole new thing. And that was the first year I got held back. So when we had a chance to start our facility, that was always kind of a goal of really, we wanted to start this academy program. And the first year that we did it, we probably had 22 kids. And out of those 22 kids, we had 19 kids end up getting Division I scholarships out of that group. Which is insane numbers, and it's nothing like the kids have today. Literally, These kids went to school on a half-court basketball court in the morning. Blake Barnett just got left Alabama and transferred, so you got Blake Barnett training over here. We got our fitness program going on over here, and then you have 22 kids on the basketball court doing their first year academics without a classroom. Mm-hmm. Right, and then they do academics in the morning, and then they would train after that.
And that was the tough part too, because we have to figure out, okay, what
like 2 o'clock.
What was how was the training program going to work with this age group, right? Because we were like, okay, we have 4 days with them. How are we going to fill their 3 hours of performance? And like we knew what they needed to do, but it's like, what is the max you can
push these kids,
6th, 7th, 8th graders? Like, what do we do with them?
How much do we lift with them? How much do we do speed? How much
position how do we get the best results from the time we're doing? You know what I mean? And that first class got to experience a lot of ups and downs, but
the number one player in America, Corey Foreman, came out of that class. What? Yeah, the program worked, bro. Yeah. First year we did it. The trials and errors we went through, we still developed the number one player athletes in America.
And maybe the number 2 and number 3 right behind him.
Yep. And he
from Dylan Lopez was
Dylan Lopez went to IMG Academy.
Elijah Rodriguez is at UCLA right now. Yep. Like there's Anthony Walters, baseball player UCLA. Like that group had a special group. Brandon Alvarez. Like the list goes on, man. There's a ton of those kids. Eric Butler, at San Diego State. So It was wild. Actually, you have that picture I found the other day with that original class, and you just go down the list: D1, 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 and it's cool to kind of look back at those and be like, "Dang, dude, those guys believed what we were doing,"
100%.
and that's why the guys that are here now are understanding. Like,
and I would say they believed in us and our program before we
believed in it. Yeah,
I remember the first meeting. We had 30-something parents there, and I was 25 years old, 26, so nervous. I'm over here telling them about education and how it should look and how it should be. I'm stuttering, and it's like I knew what we wanted to do, and I knew it was going to work, but as a 25, 26-year-old kid to tell a 40-year-old person what to do with their child, this is what you need to do. Yeah. You're wrong. The education system sucks. There's 6 periods a day, 50-minute classes are bullshit. That's not what they're doing at USC. Yeah. That's not what they're doing at IMG Academy. That's not what they're doing when you want to be elite, right? The 99% are doing that. We want to be the 1%. And I remember that first speech that we gave, and it was trying to be professional and go off a script. And that was the last time I ever scripted anything because there was no passion behind it. Once we were able to kind of explain what we wanted to do with them, and that first group brought in, we went from 22 kids to boom, next year 88 kids with Damani Jackson, Cam Sidney, Josh Hunter, right? Another
Jaden
number one player, Jaden Knott, best running back in college football. And then that's when it was like, oh, wow. Right, we went from slanging $10 footwork sessions, $20 shirts, to $200 a month packages. To at that time we were only still $5,000. Then went to $7,500 to $10,000 because the program got bigger. We got another building across the street. Yeah. We got nutrition. We added so many different things, and that was really 2016, right? 2016, 17 class.
17 was the first class. Yep.
Yeah.
Then 2017, 18 was the next one, and then from there, just, I think it went from 88 guys to 160. Then there was one point we had 300.
300, yeah, that year, 2023 class.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's wild. So now that we have Prep Academy started, right, we went from just being having a dream, a vision, planting the seeds, and becoming not only the first training facility in our area, not just a training facility, but right, we talked about it. There's training facilities that have been around for a long time, more corporate gyms, LA Fitness, 24-Hour Fitness, UFC Gym, Athletic Republic, Velocities, those type of gyms. But then Winter Circle came in, right? And when Winter Circle started, it started again as the training facility. But then when we created the Prep Academy program, that's when we really were able to see the fruits from our labor, right? We really were able to, up until then, from 2014 to 2017, I never paid myself. I was still in the NFL, so I had money kind of investing things back in. Weston was fully, I think, with Winter Circle at that time, right? You left Kebab Hut or BJ still, right?
So there was...
We got done with the morning period, right?
I was just talking to Billy about it, actually. So what ended up happening is my sister had to get me another job at BJ. So
thank God for your sister.
Saved my life. So back into the service industry, had those 3 jobs at the one time, and then I would come to Winter Circle in the evenings and help out with the evening classes. But then what ended up happening is I remember you and Jess were just like, hey, like, we got to have you now. Like, we have to have you here. Like, we have to have you here, just because I just started, learning from him. There was a couple other guys on staff, really, really great guys, kinesiology, exercise science majors, and
you've grown so much.
I absorbed such large amounts of information from them, and was able to not just regurgitate it, but kind of make it my own, and actually be able to deliver that same message, as if I actually went to damn college, right? For kinesiology.
And not to cut you off, but from day one, not saying you weren't all in, right? He had to do this, right? Because it's like I got family to take care of. For me, it's like, this is all I want to do in my life, For you, you're still working outside stuff, right? Because we couldn't pay you. You had other things going on. But also the influence from your mom and dad. And it's awesome now, 10 years later, to talk to him and saying, I'm glad he did this. Yeah. What was their influence on you? Because you're still younger than us, right? You're 23 at this time. What was kind of their influence when this whole thing started?
Well, I mean, obviously,
like any parent,
they knew that we were all excited about it. But as a parent, they didn't like that you're working so much and not being paid. Red flag.
Doesn't make sense.
But obviously, as a parent, when you're not around, because I don't even think they stepped foot in here for years.
Yeah.
There's no context to understand why. Right. Yeah. So without the context, it's not, out of the question to raise red flags
Not
like
at
that.
all.
Like, hey man, like you're not getting paid, like you're working your ass off. And although that all may be true, I knew the underlying, like the trajectory of where this was going. And plus,
And we're probably the only ones who did.
yeah, yeah. And I enjoyed it so much. It was almost like, there's a certain something that helping other people, especially kids and families, like when you help a kid out, a child, by extension, you're helping the family. So when you're seeing and you're getting the fulfillment, a lot of times it's I call it getting paid in spiritual money.
Yeah.
So you're getting paid spiritual money. So when that stuff's happening, you're not even thinking about money
At all. It's having fun.
So it made it very easy.
Yeah.
It made it very easy. There was no friction there. The only friction I had was making sure that my BJ's button up was ironed and ready for work every day. So it was those 3 jobs. Then what happened was you have Tello at NutriShop at the time, and you were like, hey, we want to replace that income, and you guys plugged me in over there. Like, hey, Adam said he'll hire you over there. So I ended up going to NutriShop. NutriShop for the first half of the day, because this was before prep still.
Yeah.
Or I think it might have been while prep was going, because then
when we started prep, you remember it was nothing in the morning till
2 o'clock.
They had late, huh?
We started at 1:30 to 2 o'clock.
It was like from 9 to 1, and they had lunch. Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the training didn't start till after, because the academics was all first.
We still had nothing for the first part of the day. So I remember that now. So I would leave NutriShop at 1:30, and then I would get to Winter Circle. We'd get a quick workout in.
We had a little break in the middle there.
Yeah, so get a quick workout in, and then we'd start the prep workouts, and then obviously bleed into the nighttime.
Into the after school
and then we'd have our weekend stuff. So at that time, and not receiving money for doing those things, they were everyone in my family, everyone that I knew, like, what are you doing?
To get paid.
There was only one person. There's only one person who was like fully behind it all. Actually, I want to say
Not
2.
really Nick, though, because I remember him getting arguments with him.
It was Nico.
Yeah.
Nico, but we were always super tight.
Yeah.
Basically, we were born a month apart. Our moms were pregnant together,
Entrepreneur spirit.
and he's just got the same kind of mind, and he always wanted to be a part of it. He's just so far removed.
Yeah.
And then my uncle Richard, who he's like a party chief of land surveying, a blue collar guy. He's, and for lack of a better term, like, I fucking love that you guys are doing this stuff. Like, keep pursuing it. Like, that's what I'm talking. You know what I mean? So just kind of gassing me up.
That motivation.
But outside of that stuff, no one was really on board for it. And again, like I said a second ago, like rightfully so, when you have no context and you really have no idea what's going on, all you know is your son's not working and he's not getting paid.
Yeah. There's
going to be some red flags. So I don't blame them for it. They're just looking out for me. I know that was all love. So it's not a big deal to me, honestly. And I don't need anyone's help or validation, or I don't need anyone to co-sign on anything that I'm doing. I'm my own man. I can take care of myself. If I fail, it'll be my fault, but also be my fault if I win.
For sure.
Or when I win.
Yeah.
So at that point, that's where all that was.
Not to take anything away from parents or anything like that, because my parents you need to go back to college.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm never going back to New Mexico. You tripping, bro. Like, this is here. And I would get mad at my mom. Like, you're 25, you're 26 years old. Like, you need to go and do a 9 to 5. And I think that's just such an old school mindset, right? Of that 9 to 5. And, we were in a whole new generation and wave of social media. And like, I laughed at my sister and these other kids, like, what do you want to do in life? I want to be a YouTuber. This was like 5 years ago. And it's like, you got to be kidding me. Yeah. Right? Now we're on YouTube doing podcasts and doing things like that, right? So always the younger generation kind of has a little bit better understanding what the no is and the now, I guess. And we were kind of at that phase, and they didn't see the work that got put in and kind of the energy that was being created and the love that was happening from it. But we definitely didn't follow any rules. We definitely didn't listen to anybody. I remember when we first started it, we asked Coach Gearhart about it and how he started Toby's treadmill.
Yeah, that's what I was doing stuff for him too. Before even Winter Circle was opened up, because I would train Toby.
Yeah,
and the biggest thing for him was, I get him on the treadmill, right? So then after he getting ready for his pro day or the combine. I was training him at Athletic Republic to get him ready to run his 4.5, which he did, which elevated him from being a 5th round draft pick to a 2nd round draft pick. But then he ended up getting treadmills in his little garage.
But before that, I remember when going up to Norco High School before he got in trouble for running his business out of there. Yeah, I think they allowed him to do that. It's crazy, but I said, Coach, I want to open up a training facility. Now I look back and know why he didn't want me to do it, because it's a competitive thing, right? And he said, there's no money in this business. We're only doing it for the kids and blah, blah, blah. Like, bro, stop lying right now. And then I went to Adrenaline when it was over here, and I talked to him about it. I think you might have been there with me that day. It was you, right? The original guy who gave us the $100,000. We went over there and said, this is what we want, right? And he said, you guys don't want to get into this business. There's no money in it. It's horrible. It's a bunch of stress, like blah, blah, blah. And I remember that being like the thing, like, how are these guys not able to run a successful business, right? And we almost lost it also the first 18 months because we didn't understand the full year-round business model. We had to think so far out
full year-round and the full 24 hours. You got to realize.
Yeah, right? 24 hours you're paying for this building, and a lot of people aren't
only operating 4 hours out of that day. You can't do that. Yeah.
Are you willing to go and put, like here, right? You're talking about $60,000 a month overhead, 2 buildings, not including the couple 6-figure payroll, right? That's a lot of money you have to make before you even have money to be profitable. So now, as I sit back at 35, I understood what they were saying, but we were so, not saying naive or even arrogant. We just knew that we could do it. And we seen that there was a space that was lacking, and it was being ran by a bunch of old heads.
I would say, like,
know really what was going on at the next level.
They're telling you that based off of their experience.
Right?
Yeah. But the word I would use would be ignorant. We don't know that failure.
Yeah, exactly. We're babying it.
We don't know that failure. So when that fear is not there, you're just like, well, we think we can do it. Let's
do it, right? And
there was never an idea that was too far-fetched that we were like, nah, we can't do it. Know what I mean? It was never like ever shot down. Nothing.
Yeah, and I'm getting back to that, and I need to get back to that where I was fearless, right? Now you get all these other things where you got a couple mortgages, you have employees, you have a kid, you have a wife, and now the kind of fear is like you don't want to make a wrong move. Before you just used to go, and blaze your own trail. But now as you get older, now the risk is more, I guess, right?
There's more people counting on you.
More people counting on you, right? In the beginning, it's like, I don't care if I lose, bro. I have the same couch at my grandma's house.
Yeah. I have something to fall back on.
I have enough to go to Miguel's, to go work out. And, but now as you go through, but in those first 5 years, I would say everybody we ran across, at least I did, told us that, like, you guys are going to fail. You guys can't do that. Like, why would you do that? There's so many other training facilities in the area. There's so many other trainers and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Why do you guys feel like you guys can do this? And even when we started the school program, right? The Corona Norco Unified School District literally tried to get our program shut down and not allow any kids that came to our academy, 6th, 7th, or 8th grade. So any 8th grader we had in our program who was transitioning to high school, they blocked every single kid from getting into their program because they said they're going to a fake school, right? No one understood our business model. And still now people are kind of understanding it, right? 10 years into it, as people come in our facility, they work for us, they go outside and share information. But we're so far past everybody, right? We're such at a different level at the top of the mountain where it doesn't really matter anymore. But back then, people, this was so foreign to them, right? It was like the internet. What do you mean you could go on the internet and do X, Y, and Z, right? What do you mean these kids are going to school at a gym, right? It was so foreign to people where the superintendent, the athletic directors, the principals from these local schools, which is a blue ribbon school, Corona Unified School District, they all got together and said, we have to shut this program down, that they're not delivering a real educational program, right? And when all of our kids from that first year of prep school, the class of 21, try to enroll into high school, they couldn't even get in. Right. And then they had to understand what we were really doing. And no, these kids are really enrolled into a charter school through the state of California. It's the same program as yours, the same curriculum as yours, the same time requirements that you are asking at your public school. We're doing the same way. We're just taking those minutes and eliminating passing period, right? Where a lot of distractions happen, a lot of fights, a lot of stupid stuff. We're shortening their lunch.
Taking out
right?
all the BS.
We're taking out all the bullshit.
We're giving them all the substance and taking away everything
your
else.
4 core classes is what you need to focus on. We're going to pound that out. We're not going to worry about the PEs and the lunch times, the 10-minute the passing periods. No, if you want to be at 1%, let's chop all the extra stuff out and let's get down to the meat and potatoes. And I understand for them being educators and having doctor's degrees and PhDs and all this stuff. How dare you young 26-year-old black kid, to come in who we knew who was a kid just 8 years ago from our school district, to come in and say that our education system is wrong.
Yeah.
And how dare you come challenge us and say you guys have a better methodology to not only create better athletes, but also a better education system. And right? Because we've had more players out of our program go to elite schools, from Dartmouth to SC to Stanford to UCLA to this, that. We have probably 8 times the amount of kids going to college who came through our program out of most schools, and 99% of the schools in Southern California. Right? Where now modern day is in our back pocket, where you're begging us for athletes. These private schools are busting our kids out. We're getting $6 to $7 to $8 million a year of scholarships for kids out of our program. Why? Because you're investing into a product, and these kids are a product and they're a brand, and they know who they're investing into, and they know that they're the right kid and the right fit for their program, not just to be another kid on campus, but to be a leader and to be somebody that could push their agenda forward. So that was, I would say, as we really became successful, right? And we started our Prep Academy program. I would say that was probably our first test, or I remember I was nervous, like, oh my gosh, we started a school program and the local school said that they're not going to take any of them. And guess what the private school said? Those guys are idiots. We'll take all your kids, right? And then it's like, well, if you don't want them at Centennial, well, guess what? Modern Day wants them. Right? Corey Foreman, do you want to go to Modern Day? Because Modern Day just accepted you, but our own school district here in our backyard is saying, no, we won't accept you, which it was like, what's going on, right? Just to think they're educators, but they're still in a box. They've been in a box for so long. They've been teaching for 20 years, 30 years in a district. They can no longer think on their own. They can no longer think out the box. In order to be successful, you have to be able to think outside the box, and we challenged the system since day one, from the way our training system was designed to us starting our own school program, and even going to COVID football, So I would say the biggest hurdle that we took on once we became successful was year 1 of prep school, of getting our program challenged. Would you guys say the same?
Yeah.
What would you say our second hurdle was?
For me, what I felt like the second biggest hurdle, and we had that big learning experience. And at the time, I wasn't really in a position to like call any shots as far as like the schedule and the logistics were concerned regarding the schedule and the amount of kids that we had.
What year was this?
When we had,
I think that's 300 kids.
That was 2018-19.
So
that was huge.
I've heard it said a couple times like, we can't handle that kind of volume. But I disagree. And being on, there's a difference between working in the business and working on it. I didn't have an opportunity at the time to work on it. I was working in it and was experiencing the volume firsthand.
We're just in the system.
And was getting my ass kicked by the volume firsthand.
It's a lot.
I was doing my very best, and I always have. But when you're on the other side, and you're kind of looking like this just wasn't organized properly.
Yeah, for sure.
So it was a logistical nightmare for me, because the things weren't set in place with, we're not going to drop names, but whoever was putting that stuff together at the time. And so now, like during that 2020 time period,
and also we've never ran a school before, right? And also it was something so unique and done where there really wasn't a model to copy.
It wasn't there yet.
Right? And that's why I give us so much credit and so much flowers to our own program, is we didn't have a blueprint to go off of.
We didn't look at anybody else's.
And we had to be at the front line, and we had to blaze our own trail, and we had to learn, and we had to do things right and do things wrong. But the passion could never get replaced, right? The work ethic, everything we gave to the kids and the results we got from it, which is why we're still here 10 years today. Anytime you do something that's new and innovative, right? There's going to be challenges.
Always.
But that's when you have to have people, right, on your staff to be able to not just be inside the box, but how do we change this? How do we adapt, and how do we overcome obstacles and situations, you know? And a lot of people, I'd say over the last 10 years, we probably had 500 employees. And some people...
And that's the thing I think with what we've done is we've never taken a criticism to offense. You know what I mean? It was always like, okay, we messed up here. We got to fix that.
Yeah.
And how do we fix that? Well, we got to do this. And it was never like, oh, you suck.
You're wrong.
And you take...
You're wrong.
It was never...
wrong.
Nothing was ever a personal vendetta. And some like you said, we had 500 employees come through here. And a lot of those employees took it as like, oh, they're shitting on me, and I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna run with it and I'm gonna leave.
Because
but for us, it was like, well, we got to fix this.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with getting shitted on. I was like, we got to fix this to progress forward.
But that's what makes us different. And that what allows us to be great is very few people have ever taken an idea and actually seen it come to fruition, right?
Yeah.
I would say very few people actually have done something, and the people who have actually done something in life, right, understand how hard it is to do something.
Yeah.
Right, that's just a fact, right? Very few people have actually done something, and if you have done something in life, you understand, you respect it, right? And the people that have come through here, the ones who are successful, who own their own businesses, who have done something, it's like, I get it, bro. I totally understand, you know, like, bro, it's you guys are doing something so innovative, so new.
Yeah.
And other people who've never done anything, it's just like, oh, do you understand what we're trying to do here? We're trying to create something so special that changes an entire culture, an entire generation, and we've done that. Because of what we created, it has changed the entire landscape, not of just Southern California,
all
but
around,
the entire West Coast, because now there's prep academies in Vegas, Arizona, Northern California, Washington, right? We get everyone who's calling all over the country.
And by extension, kind of really changing
the landscape,
but more specifically,
the
youth
athletes
football,
that are coming out.
high school football.
Yep. Basketball, baseball, right? Because athletes now are bigger, stronger, faster, right? Guys are now at the forefront of where they need to be. You are closer to being a professional athlete by the time you leave high school, because why? You've had the foundation and blueprint set since you were
a kid,
in middle school. But for us, we even went further. A lot of people want to do 6th, 7th, 8th grade. We go 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, right? So these kids, by the time they get to the next level in college, well, I've already done 10 years.
This is all I know.
Professional system where that is why you could go and make that transition and be successful, right? And that was kind of, I figured, like our 5 years getting to that point you're saying with where we had 300 kids, and it was like, oh my gosh, not only did we have 300 kids, we didn't have the campus that we have now.
We didn't have the space.
Right? We had just our one building. We had the building across the street. Then we transitioned just to the little half building on the bottom at 255, the Wellness Center, and that little 20-yard field. We ran 300 kids out of this program, right, with 30,000 square feet. Yep. Now we're talking about running it out of 80,000 square feet, where you got a 20,000 square foot building, a 20,000 square foot building, 40,000 square feet of turf space, doctor's office, nutritionist. You got 12 classrooms. You got 3,000 square foot of indoor batting cage. You got a softball, baseball field. You got 2 different of the best freaking weight rooms. You have a Kaiser weight room. You got, like, come on. Right? So now, because we had to learn how to do it with nothing, and we learned how to go and just on the fly, and we had to do it with the bare minimum. Now, year 5, year 6, I would say, right? The first 5 years was the idea, the vision, and building the plan, and then working out all the kinks. Year 6 now, once we got our building in 2000, what is that, 18? 19?
18, 19.
Yeah, about 18, 19, right? So 2018, 19, we got the other building where now we have the classrooms, we have all the things I just listed off, but also we understood the blueprint now that what we wanted to create. Because as we were creating Winter Circle, the training facility, the Prep Academy came. The Rapid Recovery came. The nutrition came. The youth football program came. The mindset program came. The baseball, remember we had baseball program, right? Yeah. We had the basketball program. All these entities came. So you have Winter Circle, right? Then underneath Winter Circle's umbrella, you got Winter Circle Nutrition, you got physical therapy, you got recovery, you got the school, you have the sports component.
Yeah,
you
Winter
got
Circle Fit.
Winter Circle Fit. Bro, like, dog, there were so many other businesses that were being run under one business. It's already hard enough to run one business. But now having all the little, the branch off, yes, it's great financially, but Coach Davila, I remember him telling me this like in 2018-19. Everyone wants to build the amazing machine and a multi-million-dollar company until you have to manage the machine, right? And I always go, but what are you talking about? We're good, you know? But as you go through those years and things and obstacles just happen that you don't plan. They're not on your business plan. It's things that just kind of pop up, right? COVID, the world shuts down. Everybody's business closes down. LA Fitnesses, 24-hour fitnesses.
The world shut down.
The whole world shut down, right? So now that we could kind of catapult into that next era, first 5 years where we're at, year 6 is 2020.
Well, I think before we get into the COVID thing, but I think once we got to that year 5, year 6, like we talked about a second ago,
we knew what
we established the culture of what the brand was.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, no matter what was thrown at us, and now these kids are walking around with their Winter Circle shirts on, and there's this like different like
we created a brand out of business.
Yeah, there's this different like aura around them. You know what I mean? They knew when they walked wherever they were walking at, they're gonna get attacked just because they have that WCA on their chest. And, they already knew, like, you know what? Yeah, you know what? You do go Winter Circle, and I'm gonna show you guys why.
Yep.
Yeah. And then like that culture started to develop with our kids, and it just bleeds on to when they get to high school, when they go to college. Like what we created those first 5 years stuck with them. And then it builds up that culture no matter where they go.
Of course you're going to be hated on, bro. You go to the best sports academy.
People are going to hate on you.
And nobody else is... Everyone wants to go here, right? Mm-hmm. But very few actually come here, right? Whether it's because they can afford it, the drive, the distance, whatever it may be. But they hate on Tom Brady. They hate on LeBron James, right? So you guys have the blueprint right in front of you. So people are going to go at you at camps and things like that. I remember that in the beginning, people really wanting to test our athletes to see if they were as good as we pumped them up. But now, as I take kids to Modern Day and Servite, and they're wearing Winter Circle stuff, I watch all the coaches gravitate to
right there.
They said, all the Winter Circle kids come talk to me. I'm sitting there like, oh, that's right. Before the camp even starts.
Yeah.
If you're here with Winter Circle, you guys are already good. We have your name, right? But it took years of laying the foundation as a business, but also the alumni and the players that came through. So we did our job to build the best facility in the world.
And we instilled that in those kids that left.
We instilled that it's us versus everybody type of mindset, right? And then they went and ran with it, the Jay Knotts, right? Yeah. The Damani Jacksons, the baseball players, the Tiger Bachmeyers, where it's like, damn, they're like that, right? And now you see our kids doing it at the college level, right? Guys in the NFL or pro sports. So when creating anything special, of course, you're going to go through adversity. You're going to have people attack you, whether it's the kids that came through our program or either ourselves. But I feel like the foundation was so strong, they were always able to prevail and come out on top. And that's year 6 when really we understood what business model we wanted to do and kind of where we seen ourselves moving forward. And right when we really got the company up and running, year 6, and things were going good, we had the facility, we had everything that we possibly dreamed of. I remember walking around with you and we're like, dang, bro, can you believe, right, this is what we created? Like, we were literally just right down the street with the homeless guy, Vontaze Burfict.
Trying to fight.
Right? He got Vontaze Burfict, all-pro linebacker there trying to beat some homeless dude up.
Man, Jack Taylor on the bike.
Jack Taylor over here messing with the kids, right? We're on the freaking river, the ravine. And we went from that humble beginnings to when we walk around, it's like, dang, like, we put it on a piece of paper. We actually made it happen, but we're looking around. It's like, what else is there to add now? Mm-hmm. And we got to a point where there was nothing else we could literally add here. We had the best facility, the best resources, the best coaches. Everything that we dreamed about was in one location. And now at that point, now it was getting ready to, boom, take it to the next level, right? And franchise it. Go to Hawaii, which we went to. Go to Nevada. Go to these different places. And right before we had that next huge boom in Winter Circle, boom, COVID hits, right?
I remember I was in Hawaii. And we had land.
We all went,
We already looked. We found the perfect spot. I was like, this would be dope. You know what I mean?
I'm moving to Hawaii.
And I remember flying.
Bye, Corona.
And we had the hula bowl. I was out there for so those combine guys we were training, and then
Yeah.
I remember on the plane coming home. I remember my wife tells me,
Crazy.
"You better wear a mask." I was like, "What do you wear a mask for?"
I know.
And I had no clue what was going on. It was
Yeah.
January, you know what I mean? And I'm like,
I
whatever,
seen all the
bro.
people. Yeah.
whatever. I'm gonna get on the plane. I'm coming home. You know.
I just seen everyone with the mask
Yeah.
on, and it's all people like Chinese people.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe they're just
Yeah.
they just have masks on.
Whatever, we're good.
Well, Asian folks, like, you know,
China?
you go like
be racist?
You Asian folks, whatever. You go around and like even before all that,
They would wear
sometimes you
masks.
see them wearing a mask. So
Yeah.
at the time, I was
We
like,
should-
not a big deal. Like everyone, you know, they just wear masks
Yeah.
sometimes, whatever.
Yeah, and I seen that on the plane. It was like, I felt like I had COVID because we came back from Hawaii in December, and 80% of our plane was coming from wherever, China, and they all had masks on. And it's like, I'm good. And I came home and I was so sick, and I never get sick, but I was sick during that time, and then I was fine. And next thing you know, it was like February.
Yep.
The
February
election
came
was coming around, and then we just got a text from our school like, "Hey,
Yeah.
the CDC." I'm like, I never even heard of the CDC.
I remember it was like March.
What's
it was
the
March
CDC?
something, dude. Because I remember the last day we had those kids here, it was like there's no school. Everything's shutting down next week. I was like, what are you talking about? Like it was
Yeah.
like, and I felt because this is like we just finished testing, and if you know anything about our program, March is like, hey, we finished our testing. Now we got 3 months to get these kids ready to be the best athletes they can be when they go
Yeah.
to high school. That's kind of how we've designed everything. And it was like, wait, they're not coming back?
Yeah.
What's going on right now? And then it's just, boop,
And
everything's
the
shut
reason
down.
why we're talking about this right now, because we literally saved high school football and youth football in California. We don't know how many lives we saved. We know we didn't kill anybody, right? Like HBO, Brian Gumble, thank you, buddy. Said we were, right? They called us COVID spreaders. So during COVID, when the world shut down, just like anybody, we shut down for probably 2 months. We
We did Zoom workouts. I remember
We were doing Zoom workouts.
I had
that stuff.
I have a whole program design on what they could do at home with water jugs and this
Yeah.
doing performance movement in a 4x4 space. Like that was like okay.
And this is when COVID was like COVID.
Yeah.
Like I remember when the
This was right
world
in
got
March,
shut
right in
down.
March 2020. It was
March.
like,
And
what are we gonna do?
the staff was still coming to work because we're doing these little COVID videos and we're just here to be here. But you look outside and nothing was going on.
There was no one on the
There's no
street,
one on the street. It's like,
nothing.
well, this is pretty serious, right?
Yeah,
And then as things go on, right, you see the Dodgers still playing in the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
You see the guys at USC and these other sports that are still outside practicing together. And the guidelines are kind of changing of really what's going on. So we kind of gave it about 2 months.
the essential workers, right? That was
Yeah,
that you're essential.
right? Yeah, we had physical therapy here, so we were essentially allowed to be open. And we went through March, April, May, June, July, and football season was coming up. And in California, football is huge. And no one could believe that there was going to be no sports, no high school football. No one believed that kids were going to be out of school that long and not go back to school, right?
Well, at that time, what was happening? They kept like pushing off.
states were
No,
opening,
but they
right?
kept pushing a deadline. Like,
Yeah.
oh, we're gonna announce at this time.
What's going
And so
on
everyone
next?
got their hopes up, and then they go, oh
Yeah.
no, we're closed for another 8 weeks.
Oh,
or
yeah.
We're shut down for another 8 weeks, and so it happened like that for another 4 months,
Yeah.
5 months,
Straight up.
So people would get excited and like, oh, we're about to go back to school, no big deal.
we're good.
That time would hit again, and they pushed the date out longer.
Yeah.
and they pushed it out longer and longer and longer.
And I just remember for us, we were like, we would still come in.
Yeah.
Right? And we're like,
We started
we're all
like-
by each other. We're like, dude, we're fine. Let's
Yeah.
keep this.
No
you
one's
know,
shopping today.
March,
Okay.
April. I would say
Let's go.
once May came back around, we had the like pro guys coming
Yeah.
in. Kenny Clark was the
Yeah.
first one in. And we
Yeah.
started having a bunch of high profile
College
guys.
kids started
It
coming through.
multiplied.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It
it
went
was-
from two.
First day was one person.
Then it was
Second
like-
day it was two, and then
Yeah.
from there it doubled.
It was like
we were
four.
posting on social media, and you got people that were calling the cops on us, the city on us. They were trying to shut us down. They were doing anything. You had other gym owners and other people who didn't have the balls to do what we were doing, literally calling the city on us. We had so many notes on the door. We had the building locked up. Like, bro, whatever. We'll figure this thing out later. And by the time we got to June, we had multiple different kids for different reasons. I remember this kid from Norco, lineman, who ended up going D1. They wanted like to sleep at the facility or something. I was trying to figure out what was going on. And he was like, I get to go to school for probably 12 hours a day. And when I'm there, I'm not home. And when I'm home, my dad beats my ass. Right. And then you hear other kids talking about losing their scholarships. And you hear about these kids who worked their whole lives off and they're going to miss their senior year in depression. And so many of these kids that were going through this were our first year prep academy kids, right?
Yeah.
It was the Corey Foreman group. Our first group, that 2021, was that pretty much that COVID group. So 2020 fall,
that was going to be their senior year. Yeah,
they would have graduated. So it wasn't like we were just doing it just to do it. Like, no, we've known these kids since they were 10, 11.
They're the first ones to believe in what we were doing, so we're not going to turn our backs on them now.
They were the first ones to believe into our program, to the prep school, to everything that we're doing. And once we kind of seen like, okay, this is right, you start hearing the left wing, the right wing. We don't want to get too much into political stuff. That was going on, right? We just said, screw it. We got to figure something out. So during COVID football, we hosted the first ever, think about this, right? We opened the first ever prep academy this side of the Mississippi. We opened up the first mom and pop shop gym here in our area. But also we opened up the first ever live stream showcase for college coaches around the country here at Winter Circle during the COVID, right? And we figured out a way how to get cameras on our building shooting on this side of the field, one shooting from the side and one shooting from the other side, plus inside the building. We did a full NFL combine out of our facility, live streamed it, and we have Coach Cristobal, head coach from Oregon and all these different universities, kicked up out their house with their coaches, sending us pictures like, this is the best thing we've ever seen. Like this, drinking beers, popcorn, literally watching Winter Circle TV during COVID football, because coaches want to coach. That's what coaches do, right? Players want to play, and no one had access to do what they're doing. They couldn't work with their athletes, depending what state was, whatever, red or blue. So we're putting on these showcases, and they're talking about Noah Fafita was here, California, or Pac-12 Freshman Player of the Year, Jaden Knott, best player and running back in California, number one player in the country, Corey Foreman, like the names that we had here was and has to be the biggest ever, most talented camp in the state of California in one place, right? And for the guys who were not underclassmen, but underdogs, guys got scholarships at that camp. We had literally college coaches calling in on the live stream to offer kids scholarships. That's how freaking badass it was, right? So when we go back to Winter Circle, we always evolve, we always pivot, we always adjust, and we always do what's best for the kids to put them in the best situation to win and be successful, even if it means us, right? Getting sued by the city, getting sued by the county, all these different things that we've done. We've did everything building this company based off the passion that we felt and the belief that we were doing the wrong thing, right? And a lot of companies will never do that. And though the fear for them of getting shut down, getting sued, getting things like that. And for us, it was always a team decision. Do you guys want to do this, bro, or not?
Should we build a field?
Let's do it. Like, it was always, do you guys want to start a school? Right? We knew we had the staff to do it. We knew we had the platform to do it. And we knew what was going to come with it, right? The hate, the negativity, all those other things that come with it by a bunch of insecure people who were never doers and have never done anything. But for us, it was always the team would make the decision, let's do it, let's go. Because I could never do it myself without you guys. I could have the idea, the vision, and say, hey, let's do this. But if we don't have the team of people to execute at a high level, then we couldn't do any of these things, right? So branching from the showcases we did during COVID to building the first football field, right?
Yeah, that was actually pretty cool thing too, man. It was like, we got to build a field.
Lopsided field.
What are we gonna do? We're gonna build a field.
It was the speakeasy field. Like unless you have been there,
you never know where it's at.
You can't find it. It's
even if you pulled up there, you were like, where is it? Oh, it's way in the back.
And shout out to Pat Rahagi's shooting range. I happened to be at the gas station one day. How all this came up, right? Never met the guy in my life. He's a Norco guy, been here for years. Pull up. He recognized me. Kid played at Norco High School, buying a can of Grizzly. He's buying one. And he's like, you own a business, right? Yeah, I own a business. He's like, man, these freaking liberals are trying to ruin us. Like, I do too. We're not even open right now. You're shut down. It's like, how are you guys surviving? Like, what are you guys doing? I said, to be honest with you, I'm looking for land right now to build a football field because we have kids talking about suicide and this and depression, blah, blah, blah. And I just can't find anything, but I have the money to go and build the field, and we want to go and get some kids to start playing football. And he's like, land? Like, follow me. I'm like, bro, who's this redneck guy? Freaking the typical Norco, freaking little meathead, got his boots on, his Levi's, fucking butt crack hanging out, right? And big old shoe in. And I drive, and I only been to Rahagi's probably one time before that, which was during my senior year. There's an extra credit thing they used to do down there for their gun show or their community event. Did it down there, whatever. Happened to run into him that day. So we drive over there, driving to Rahagi's. I'm like, dang, bro, where's this guy taking me? I mean, he's going to turn me in for trying to do this. Like, who knows what's going on right now? It's COVID. Like, hey, I got somebody, bro. You know, like,
get him.
String him up. He wants to build a field. So I go over there, and he's like, I have 682 acres. I'm like, oh my gosh. And he's like, how about this area for you guys? So at first he was helping us, but he's still a little spooked out. You don't know what's going on, right? So he put us like
the back
like,
corner
where the dead bodies are buried, right? This is what's that show? This is what's that show? Famous cowboy show that's going on right now.
Yellowstone?
Yeah, this is Yellowstone, bro. He took us to the border, right, where they bury these bodies. So we're back there. The field is getting built on a cliff.
So, hey,
yeah,
if you
bro.
threw the ball over, you're
Don't
going
get
down.
rerouted. You're about to get rerouted down the hill, right? So we go and buy like 50 yards of mismatching turf, whatever's available, because people stop building the production for it, right? Because it's like there's no one needs nothing, right? So we buy all this turf. And it's like, dang, okay, it's gonna cost so much money to install it, $200,000-$300,000 if you're building a football field. He's like, oh, we ain't got shit to do. We have all the machines in the world that you guys need. Like, tell me what you need. Boom, levels it out. This does all this stuff. And our staff at that time, we get out there and we're just rolling out the turfs and we're hammering it down and like we're doing we're doing. And it ended up becoming a TV show called. It was on Overtime. What was it? The lost
seasons.
Lost season of football, right? So no one's playing. The Lost Seasons was a reality TV show on Overtime, and they covered the whole thing. And we had dogs out there. I'm talking about T-Mac, first round draft pick, best player out of Arizona in the Pac-12, number one receiver. Again, going back to I'm talking about 60 plus dudes that were there, and we're like, whoa. Like, this is like, okay, guys are hungry. They're ready to play
That's
football.
when it started Friday Night Lights. And once we were able to get the field done, we were able to practice. And there was no season.
Yep.
We're like, well, we got to do something for the fall for these guys. And we were so happy to be able to do Hard Knocks, Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
Over at San Bernardino at Aquinas High School.
Right? So then we ended up getting a football field to play these games at. So it just kept evolving because some people supported what was going on in the country and being shut down. Some people didn't. And
people were getting frustrated and fed up. So they were like, we need these kids
they need to play.
They can't be boxed.
This is when Winter Circle went from a Southern California brand to a California brand to a West Coast brand, right? And what I mean by that is by the time we got done with this little Friday night football lost season thing, we're playing teams from Washington. Right, they're driving down to Arizona to play us and things like that. We did a whole youth football season that year for all the kids. Mm-hmm. We had that little Friday night stuff, right? And then that propelled us into our second football field where we built a real football field. Yeah. We built COVID football.
Club football,
man. Club football. The first ever club football in this entire nation of high school athletics.
I remember our opening day was New Year's. It was New Year's 2021. Because I remember
talking about it. And we're all like, is everyone gonna come?
It's New Year's Day. I don't know if people are gonna.
Thousands of people
driving down the street. It's like, here they come. Gates open.
And you look down the road. If you ever been to the shooting range there's like a dirt road that goes all the way up, and you just look back. It's like cars lined up.
3 mile road
all the way up, just cars. Like. All right,
and it wasn't just like, club football. You think club football, but you had Servite's team there. You had Santa Margarita. You had Mission Viejos. You had Long Beach Poly. You had the teams
guys
in California, the high school programs who were out there coaching their kids, you know? Recruiters, college coaches. It was just a fun time because now you have 3 games on Friday, 8 games on Saturday.
I think that 18 games throughout the weekend.
Yeah, it was so 8, so 16, 17.
We started having food vendors popping up. We had like the little food trucks coming through.
I remember
38 teams, bro.
I would remember, and it didn't matter It didn't matter what day, if it was the first week, the last week, Friday. And I remember Saturday and Sunday, dude, we're getting at the field 4:15, 4:30 in the morning to set up.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it's freezing. It's freezing. It's January, so it's cold as hell. But you see the teams arrive, and you could cut the excitement with a
The
knife.
energy
They
was
were
so
so
crazy.
happy.
Energy was on something that I've never experienced before, and to see like. Usually you go to like right now, right? If we go to a youth football game, high school football game, you got
whatever.
parents talking smack to each other, fighting each other in the stands. It was just nothing but gratitude and love, and people just ready to watch football. And then
up.
when we had those big games, WCA versus, was it the Long Beach Poly
Long
team?
Beach
Long Beach
Poly
Poly
team
team,
with
yeah.
7 McGee.
And then how many people just showed up just to watch the game? There wasn't enough space in the damn.
We had to start telling people they had to leave after their game.
After
was
the games,
played,
we
so
had
you
no
enough
space,
parking. Yeah, because it got bigger and bigger. You got Malachi Nelson, USC commit. You got all these guys that are out there. Now you have rivals there, 247
Mikey
there.
Matthews.
Under the radar.
Oh, yeah, dude.
it's like,
yeah, guys.
you're talking
man.
about 10,000 people at a shooting range. Oh, yeah. So Huggies is a shooting range. You're talking about AK-47s, just pop, 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 pop.
Going off.
the whole time, right? So it's like the most Texas, like just you love football type of environment. We put just right there, smack dab, put the football field there. Guns are going off, but everybody was excited about it. Everyone was about it. And I feel like that was everyone was appreciative of us risking our entire company to do that, right? And we're in LA Times every single week. Front page LA Times for doing this. We're on HBO again. Bryant Gumbel reached out to cover us. And that's when really, I would say, Winter Circle kind of boom, became a national type of program. Outside of just like our Inland Empire area, Southern California, because obviously it was national news, you know. That puts us up to what, 2021, 2022?
2021. And everything started coming back to normal.
Yeah,
and,
normal.
You know, and then everyone around was like, okay, football's back. We're going to do a spring. After we did our club season in the winter, everyone agreed to a five-week spring season.
Yeah, then we ended up doing that.
So it's like, yeah, for not just for us, but like the high schools. They were like, we're gonna do a spring season.
We literally forced
CIF,
to have to
open
play because we were getting ready to do another
one.
Yeah.
And we had so much success from it. Yeah, and the media
teams were reaching out.
Yeah.
Are you guys doing another one?
So really saving high school football. We made CIF do a 5-game short season in April. It's like April.
To prevent them to come to us.
To prevent them to go back and doing us because CIF is a huge corporation, make a lot of money. High schools make football is the biggest thing that drives money to every single high school program. So now if football becomes club, just like baseball, softball, basketball, volleyball, all the other sports, well, now you're going to take a lot of money away from the high school athletic department for football because you don't have to play for your high school baseball, softball, basketball team, lacrosse team, because all your scholarships come from club. But we were showing that through our club league, it was being done. College coaches were calling in, reporters were coming in, media was coming in, kids were getting scholarship offers. Xavier Ward from Roosevelt High School got offered to Washington State during COVID and didn't even play his junior or senior year because of COVID and left the semester early to go to Wazoo and didn't even come back for that spring league they put on, right? So that's how much data and that's how much information we were pumping out to all the college coaches and people around the country from 247, Greg Biggums, Adam Gorney. Coaches had updated combine numbers. They had updated film, one-on-ones. Literally what they want to do, we created, again, the blueprint during COVID to be able to get these kids to the next level, right? And then really the next step for us at Winter Circle, right? We went through COVID. Things started going back to normal.
And it was getting the families back comfortable about being in that setting of a gathering, right? And once everything was good,
I feel like there was a point in time where, like how you said in the beginning, like everyone was afraid. Like I remember us even were like, what's this could be like, is this a deal? Obviously we all took it serious in the beginning, but then when you kind of notice like, well, this is interesting. I thought we're all supposed to be like super sick and people are getting hurt and like, I feel okay. Like how do you feel? I feel good. Well, we feel good. And then it's like, people that caught wind because what happened was like how we said in the beginning, first it was Kenny, and then it started multiplying. Then all the kids from Modern Day were all in, the David Baileys and their whole crew. And then you have the whole Bosco team coming in. Next thing you know, we have 200 kids
back
in the summertime during COVID before noon.
100%.
And so we were doing, I think, just $200 programs 2 times a week.
Cheap, discounted everybody.
Yeah, so $200 programs. And then people started catching wind of, like, oh, they're open. And then next thing you know, ding, 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 here come people knocking on the door because they heard that we're open. Like, and we think that they're going to come in and press us about being open. And they come in like, hey,
have
can my son,
here.
Yeah, how can I sign my kid up?
Hey, can I sign my kid up? Can I bring my son in? Yeah, sure, most definitely. And then just like that, our program was running again.
And again, I think that's why Winter Circle was always successful. Not only do we have the vision, we had the hard work, we had the dedication, right? But also we followed our own rules, right? Which rubbed people wrong, right? We never followed what we were supposed to do, right? We always pushed the envelope. We always challenged the system. We always try to figure out a better way to impact the kids in our program, right? But also through that, I feel like the culture and everything that we pushed is why high school athletics is where it's at, right? And with all the hate that happens, because there's positive for Winter Circle hate, and the people on the side of hating on Winter Circle are the ones who were either too scared to do it themselves, or we just happen to beat them in some type of sport, or they want to do what we do, right? And everything we've done with Winter Circle, we've always said it before we were going to do it on social media. We put it out that was going to happen, and then they got to sit back and watch us do it. And because they were insecure and because they didn't have the balls to do it themselves, I felt like it really bothered a lot of people. But at the end of the day, our blueprint has been spread and shared, not just through Southern California now, but now really popping up in multiple different states. And moving forward, really, now that we have the blueprint, we're on year 10. We just had our 10-year anniversary, right? We went from February 14th, 2014 to February 14th, 2024, right? 10 years of going from the idea phase to planting the seed to evolving Winter Circle, coming up with different programs, packages, failing, Winter Circle closing, going through a global pandemic, losing multiple people in our company who were trainers and business partners and people who were here with us. For whatever reason, I feel like a lot of people came and go, whether it was jealousy, envy, entitlement. As we grew the company, there was really nothing that could stop us besides us, you know? Again, a lot of people came and they tried to do stuff outside of here, but the direction we're heading now, we have what we have. We know our program. We understand our training methodology. We understand our culture. We understand what we're pushing. Where do you see our next step is? Is it duplicating Winter Circle and going into Temecula, right? Do another location? Where would you want to see Winter Circle go in the next 24 months?
I think expanding, like you said, multiple locations would be something that it's not far-fetched to do just because the programs are in place, 100%. Right? It's proven.
It's so easy, yeah.
It's proven what the training methodology, just everything that's encompassed under what we do has been proven, from the nutrition to the school to any program we put out there. We've seen
it's always been
we've seen the success in the kids.
Yeah.
Not just like how they perform physically, but you see their mental aspect of things, how they see not just spiritually but like intellectually, like how to be better people outside of their sport.
Yeah.
Like we're like a lot of things that people don't see what Winter Circle has done is, yes, we know that we're going to make the athletes better by physically. The stuff that's never put down on paper is the characteristics they built and the different types of tools they gather to be better human beings.
And that's what
that's never on a piece of paper. It's just
that's what really separates us from everyone else. I always tell people, you could train anywhere. Everyone has a squat rack. They have this. I don't care. You could train wherever you want. You don't come to Winter Circle just for training.
Yeah.
You come to Winter Circle to be set up for life. It's like a USC, right? When you're part of a USC and that alumni, they sell you on all the time, that's what you go there for and why you pay what you pay to go there, because RCC has a campus and RCC has classes. But do you want that that environment, that network, or do you want the USC, the 1%, the people who are trying to be innovative and visionaries and they're trying to change the entire world? And I feel like for our athletes and what we created here at Winter Circle, yes, we're going to get you bigger, stronger, faster, but it's the wisdom, it's the impact, it's the forward thinking, it's the support system, it's everything that we figured out on our own 10 years of running our own business, right? Going through trials and tribulations, where we have kids now reaching out to us to start their own business, right? To start their own companies. Damani Jackson just called me. Now these kids are getting paid millions of dollars for NIL stuff, deals, right? And now we're really going to see the next couple of years and the fruits of our labor are our athletes who are signing these NIL deals, because every athlete who's come through our program, or a staff member who's come through here, or kids, if you ask, that are in college right now or in the NFL, whether it's Kenny Clark, Marcus Williams, doesn't matter, Trey Watson, what do you guys want to do after high school? I want to do exactly what you guys are doing at Winter Circle. This is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Then our college athletes come. What do you guys want to do after college? What are you studying? I want to do exactly what you guys did here at Winter Circle. This is the coolest thing I've ever seen, and this is what I want to do at, right?
And you get it year
Kenny
in, year
Clark,
out.
$200 million. What do you want to do, Kenny? I want to be a part of this. Right? The energy and what we created is so infectious, and so many people have watched it for so many years, right? So it doesn't matter if they hate it or they support or not, right? We've impacted so many lives, and we really not only changed the culture, we created our own culture, and everybody else is trying to catch up, right? And I look at it as we're the McDonald's, right? Everybody else is trying to create the new Burger King and other thing to be like us. But the reason why nobody else's stuff ever is successful and it succeeds is because they're trying to be us. We never try to be anybody else. We never try to be Athletic Republic, EM, right? Velocity, or the Mamba Sports Academy, all these programs that popped up throughout the years and took our model and our business model. The reason why Boost is still 3,000 square feet at our old facility and hasn't grown is because they're trying to be us. We were so innovative at such a young age, and we were so stupid. We believed that we could actually change the world, and we actually did, right? And that's very rare. Do you see 24, 22-year-old people that risk it all, right? We put everything on red, everything on black, and we ran with it for 10 years straight. But you see so many people trying to duplicate what we're doing. And for the people out there, don't try to be Winter Circle, right? People say, well, how are you guys successful? And why do you guys do this? And how have you guys done that? Well, we were never trying to be anybody else. We were authentic. We were who we were. We struggled. We went through adversity. We had trials and tribulation. We lost best friends who left the company. We lost over $1 million of people who stole money from the company. We trusted the wrong people. There's so many things that 10 years at 24 years old starting a company, right? And that you just don't know. It's not in a book, right?
Experience. You got to experience it.
You have to experience it. And that's one thing I give our staff, and where we're at now is we have so much experience that you can't find in an exercise science kinesiology book. You can't find in a business book, because if you could, your teacher who would teach your business class at USC wouldn't even be teaching that class, because they have the information in the book. They'd be so successful, they want to be the teacher there, right? So the information in the book, that's awesome knowledge, but that's not what makes you successful, right? It's the really getting on your hands and knees and building a company, going through with experience. And that's why I know Winter Circle will never be stopped. There's so many nuggets, and there's so many jewels, and there's so many things that people can't even fathom that we think of and we've been through, that will allow us to stay on top of the game for so long. And it's very hard to sustain success for a long time, right? You see Nick Saban, he's struggling with it. You see Bill Belichick, you see these guys, LeBron James. It's hard to do it at the top for so long, right? And sustain that. And that's where I feel like our next 10 years is how do we sustain that? I know how we sustain it. We sustain it by motivation and dedication, not because of the money and buying houses and getting kids to college and all this stuff that what motivated us in the beginning. What motivates us now is our own kids. My son is 2 years old. So for the next 16 years, guess what? I'm going to be on your motherfucking ass, and we're going to go and let you guys know we're so big, we're so bad, we're so strong. What anybody's seen Winter Circle in these last 10 years is nothing compared to what we're going to do moving forward, because his kids are what? What are their ages?
11, 9, and 7.
11, 9, and 7. How old's your kid?
2.5.
my kids too. Oh, if you thought we were motivated before, oh, we're going to build the best athletes, the best programs, the best this. Why? Because now we're not doing it for ourselves. We're doing it for our kids.
And with that being said, too, just speaking on that,
We eating, baby.
my daughter's 11 right now, right? And this is all she knows.
That's all she
literally
knows. What a cool thing.
So
to
like
for our kids.
she's been like, it's crazy to like yeah, you get a little emotional about this, but
But really though, dog.
bro, I've seen her like catapult to this different level just because of the environment she's been around.
100%.
You know what I mean? She sees Corey Foreman.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my
She knows
friend.
him personally.
She calls it like, oh, this is that's Uncle Marcus or that's Uncle Kenny. That's
Yeah.
like, but then like
cool
when
thing for
she's
the
like doing her stuff in here, she's like, actually it's funny because Coach Boston told her write me a training program. He wrote her a week training block of A1, A2, and just kind of like, dude, that's all she sees. That's all she knows.
She grew up in the first
and that's and moving forward, like you said, the next 10 years, it's like now she's going to use what she's already learned and what she's been around to kind of elevate not just herself but people around her. And then whatever else we do, if it comes to like, building 20 of these, you know what I mean? Sure. Like there's not just her but everyone else that's been around it, like. They understand. They understand what the culture is. That's what we're bringing back to the culture. This culture is not something you can just create out of nowhere. Like
this is people's.
This is
lives.
This is built in them. You know what I mean? Like this is all
they bleed.
That's all they know. And that's like Jeremiah right now. I saw a video of him running on the little curve treadmill. Couldn't even walk. Now he's fool's hitting 14 miles an hour.
Your wife was like, "Damn, that fool's rolling."
Yeah,
right. And that's
and all the guys that are in here now. All the guys that are going to the NFL, the combine dudes, like they're in here. Every day they're together, looking around like, if I had this, if I had, I need to do this. I want to do like, and that's just infectious. And then that's just like. What we've built from nothing,
and that's from the name that we created from day one, Winner Circle, right?
Yeah,
from there, from the name, we're gonna offend people, right? We want to be the 1%. This is the Winner Circle. Not everybody is built to be in it, and only the strong survive. We could only give you the information, the knowledge, and try to help you as much as we want, but. Right? Some people are uncomfortable. Some people choose to live in a tent on the side of the road because they don't have to do anything. They could sit there all day and be homeless. Right? We chose to be the Winner Circle and we chose to be the standard and have a blueprint and to be able to push that thing, not just the last 10 years, because again, you from the beginning in 2010, living at your wife's house and she's in school to be a nurse and right, you living at your parents' house, I'm living with you, I'm living bouncing around from place to place. Literally, we had nothing when we created this other than an idea and the passion to say, my life, there has to be more out there for me than what I have now, right? And as much as we helped the kids in the community, they helped us. They gave us a purpose. They gave us an identity. They gave us the love and everything that we have now. So for me, the next 10 years is going to be so much better than what we just went through, because what we just went through, it was hell and heaven, and it was the roller coaster ride because we didn't know what we didn't know. Yeah. Right. So now as we go and you get better with business, right? You're starting new stuff in your life. You're here with your kids. I have 3 of them now. Your kids are starting to go to school here. I have my son. The passion and the drive doesn't leave because now it's not just about us. It's easy to be selfish for yourself, but when you have your kids who love what you do and they're part of that culture, now it's really how do we take this to the next level? Because the last couple of years we went through so much through different things that we went through in the company where I got comfortable, I got complacent, and I never get complacent and I never go negative because I went through the worst shit in the world and we made it through it because of the mindset that we have. But once you work so hard to get there and you get beat down, and it's like, I need a break, dog, and now that I was able to see okay, that was cool. I wanted these things and I was able to kind of relax. Now it's like, okay, now it's time to gear up. It's time to charge up. It's back to get on our shit and really get back to the grind mode and the investment. Because for us, the reason why we got what we got, we didn't fear anything. Right? We bet everything on everything, right? Then we got comfortable. Whether it's because we had to fix things and we went through adversity, but now it's just getting back to betting on ourselves, taking the company to a different completely place. And Temecula, that is our next city and community that we need to change. And I'm excited for this next step, excited for your next step, excited for your next step. And I'm excited to document this because our whole company, was documented. If you guys are out there and you don't understand it, everything that we're talking about is on YouTube right now from 2010 all the way up until where we're at now. We got lazy on YouTube for a while because, right, we had stuff to do. But if you look at everything on YouTube, everything we talked about, you could find on our YouTube page. We said it was going to happen. We worked our butt off. We did it, and we did it before we even, or we said it before we even did it. Right. So now with this whole YouTube and our podcast and Inside the Circle, we're really going to let you inside the circle, not just from a video that we post, but we're going to talk about the moves that we're having, the impact we're going to do. We're going to talk about the culture. We're going to talk about our faith, our family, football, business, the trial, the errors. And today was just the first step to that. In order to know what's going on inside the circle, you have to know the circle. And you have to know how much we've overcome, how much adversity we went through, how much we failed, how much we've been attacked, and how much we prospered and progressed through all the bullshit. Right. And we're still here 10 years later, from little kids starting this company to now being husbands and fathers, and taking this next step after our 10-year not reunion, but 10 years of being on the trenches and front line with the company. So I'm excited for this next 10 years and what we're heading into in the new season we have. Awesome to have you guys follow this. We're just getting started. So hopefully you guys learned something today. You learned something about the company and how to go from losing our company to building it back to the blueprint. We said all the time, we're not just a hashtag, right? This is our life. This is what we're about. And it takes a circle to get to where we're at. It takes a lot of faith and a lot of trust in the people and the people around me. And I couldn't have done that without these two and the people who are now on staff. So excited for this next steps.
Yes, sir.
Coach E, Coach Wes, foundation is key, baby.